Hi, I'm Carlin Borisenko. In early 2020, I was the knitting Democrat who accidentally went viral on the internet for going to a Trump rally and then left the party. I became the conservative darling, was on all the shows, traveled around the country, and then realized that conservatives were no better than Democrats. If there's one thing that I've learned, it's that both political tribes are two sides of the same coin. But it wasn't all bad. On my journey, I became obsessed with understanding the woke ideology and the culture war. I broke the story of the city of Seattle doing segregated training with its employees.
How bad has this stuff become? The city of Seattle has now put out, I'm not kidding you, this is according to Dr. Carolyn Borisenko, who's an organizational psychologist. The city of Seattle asked its white employees to voluntarily spend a day off in a training about their internalized racial superiority.
I broke the story that led to the first ever federal lawsuit against critical race theory in the schools. I broke the Coke Be Less White story, one of the biggest anti-woke stories of all time. It got over 30 million views. Coca-Cola's corporate headquarters even had to change their outgoing voicemail.
Throughout the past few days, you may have seen inaccurate reporting on the content of our recently launched diversity, equity, and inclusion training program.
I exposed the schools in Burlington, Vermont for grooming middle school children live on the internet. They called me an unwoke cult leader for that. And the Vermont Human Rights Commission slandered me publicly as being a hate channel. I even got called a hero in Breitbart for exposing that the Washington Post was writing a hit piece on Christopher Rufo. I have broken story after story after story about what's going on in the public schools, from Cambridge, Massachusetts, to autistic sex education, to the Department of Education in Michigan, literally training teachers all over the state how to groom children. I wrote a book called Actively Unwoke, the ultimate guide for fighting back against the woke insanity in your life. I host a podcast all about fighting back, and I'm downloading all of my knowledge to you on my Substack, carlin.substack.com. The world is a crazy place. We are literally surrounded by cults on all sides. On this show, we're going to do a deep dive into all aspects of the culture war, and I will show you the dark, dystopian underbellies on both sides. Here are the commitments I'll make to you. I will always tell you the truth. I will always bring you receipts. And if you stick with me, I promise you will see the world differently. Welcome to the cult. Please mount that like button for me and subscribe if you feel so inclined. Well, hello, everyone. Happy Tuesday. Well, we are continuing today with our epic watch party of the Andrew Tate Tucker Carlson interview. If you have not joined us previously, welcome to The Cult. The Cult is a show that I do Mondays through Friday at 5 p.m. on this here YouTube channel, where we look at all aspects of the culture war. We hate the left just as much as we hate the right, and so we take both sides to task. And you know, there's been some shenanigans going on the right. And of course, we yesterday did watch about the 47 minutes of Andrew Tate's interview with Tucker Carlson, and I yelled a lot and I had a lot of feelings. And if you want to be caught up about why I had a lot of feelings, then you can watch the clip that I posted on the channel earlier today of probably the most important part of yesterday's stream, which is where Andrew Tate was like, I just want men to be men and to go to the gym and to be healthy. And then Tucker Carlson was like, yes, Andrew, I know you just want men to be men and you are so persecuted by the system. And then we watched a clip video that Liz Wheeler posted on Twitter that shows Andrew Tate talking about how he created his own pimp course because he coerced girls through emotional manipulation and alcohol to do OnlyFans and then give him all their money. Just like a good conservative would do. He's so persecuted by the system, isn't he? Just he's very innocent. He just has, several dozen girls working for him, doing OnlyFans for him. And Tucker Carlson is like, but Andrew, I just thought you're only doing TikTok, right? How are you even making money doing TikTok? You must be persecuted by the system because of your beliefs. Anyway, yesterday was a fun-filled day. But we still have about 2 hours of this interview yet to go. And you know how I play on this channel, guys. I don't watch clips. I don't watch things that are taken out of context. I watch the entire interview from start to finish, even if it takes several sittings to do it. And so we're going to continue on that today. Naruto with the first super chat. 3 names I can't believe have a conservative audience: Andrew Tate, John Doyle, Nick Fuentes, who now identifies as the Antichrist. Yes, that is another thing we're going to be talking about at some point. If you guys didn't see Nick Fuentes' little rally that he had the other day, I'm talking Nick Fuentes literally put himself on video speaking in front of a giant fire and brimstone background. And I'm not exaggerating. If you guys remember that speech that Joe Biden did in Philadelphia, where they lit him from behind with the red, and Joe Biden was like that, and he looked kind of like Hitler. What Nick Fuentes did the other day with putting himself quite literally in front of fire and effing brimstone, I was like, bro, you know you look like the Antichrist, right? You know you do, right? But that is a different topic for a different day, Naruto. That is a different one for a different day. I also want to say hello to John Morgan. John got to see the real Downton Abbey today. John, did you have a great time? I'm so jealous that you got to see the real Downton Abbey. Oh my gosh, how great. I hope you post pictures on your IG or something. All right, guys. Well, we do have a whole bunch of stuff that we want to get into today, but I do have to start before we start the stream. I have to start with a very sad announcement. You know, sometimes when you take really masculine, tiny dicked influencers to task on the internet, sometimes they're not happy about it. And maybe I just overstepped my bounds yesterday. I don't know. But I did discover not too long ago that Andrew Tate blocked me on Twitter. I don't know what I possibly could have done to get Andrew Tate, the man of men, the most masculine, manly man in the history of existence, to block me on Twitter. It certainly couldn't have been when I called him a stupid narcissist with a tiny dick. That definitely, like, Andrew Tate is way more masculine than that. Andrew Tate would never get so angry that he would block just a random ugly woman like me, because I'm just so fat and so ugly and so beneath Andrew Tate. Like, he wouldn't even waste his time on me for calling him a needle dick narcissist. That just would never ever happen. I'm brokenhearted. I have been crying ever since I discovered that Andrew Tate blocked me on Twitter a couple hours ago. It is, I just don't know. I'm going to have to talk to Joshua about it later. I don't know how I will ever get over this slight. It's going to be rough, guys. I'm going to have to cry myself to sleep tonight into my pillow, and I'll have to work out my feelings, and this is just all an epic cope right now. This is just a cope. I'm devastated. In fact, I'm so devastated that what I'm actually going to be focusing on is my stuff over on my Substack, which is separate from Andrew Tate being a jackass. But guys, if you don't know, my Substack, Carlyn, KARLYN.substack.com, is the place where I post the most unique Unwoke content on the internet. I'm keeping an eye on all these organizations, even when I'm dicking around, figuratively, with the conservative right and calling them on their bullshit. I am always keeping a watchful eye on the woke left. And yesterday over on the Substack, do you guys wonder what Randy Weingarten is teaching teachers? Because I know, last week we talked about the fact that, I'm not taking credit for this or anything, but a conference that I was prepared to infiltrate that was supposed to happen like this week, that I was going to stream live on the internet for everyone, they canceled that conference. It was a queer endeavor. It was a conference out of the University of Colorado Boulder School of Education. I was fully prepared to stream everything I could live on the internet so you could all see it. Sadly, they chickened out. They didn't want us to see what they were teaching teachers, and so they canceled their little conference. But, teacher training conferences are a dime a dozen, and the American Federation of Teachers is holding their teacher training conference this week. And let me tell you what, there's some interesting things going on at the American Federation for Teachers conference. And so you might want to check that out. If you have kids in school, it is important to know what teachers are being taught by the teachers union This is not theoretical. This is training they're receiving by the teachers union. Let me just show you the first one. Oh, affirming LGBTQIA plus identities in and out of the classroom. This is one of their most popular sessions at the AFT conference coming up this week. In a couple of days, you can see capacity already filled, already sold out. Can't even get into that one. So guys, I did cover that yesterday on the Substack. I broke down all of the sessions for the upcoming AFT Teacher Training Conference that you need to know about so that we can get a head start on what's going into the classroom. That's the type of stuff I do over on my Substack that you can subscribe to for $5 a month, $50 a year. You can subscribe for free too if you want to, but if you do want to support the work I'm doing and keep me in business, because I am 100% entirely funded by you. If you don't support my work, then I can't do it anymore. I am asking you to sign up on the Substack for $5 a month, $50 a year. It really does help me out. And at the end of the month, my prices on the Substack are going to be going up to $8 a month and $80 a year. And the reason for that is my price point is just a tiny bit lower than people who have a list size like I have on Substack right now. And so I'm just trying to get in line, be where I should be. It's always important to compare yourself to other people who, are doing maybe not similar things, because I don't think there's anyone else on Substack doing what I'm doing, but like in the same arena, and to make sure you're just in line with them. So I will be raising the price at the end of the month, but that's good news for you because you still have time to sign up at the $5 a month, $50 a year price. And when I raise the prices at the end of the month, if you're already signed up, you'll be grandfathered in. So you don't have to pay the $8 a month or $80 a year. It's only going to be $5 for you. How special. So you can do that over on the Substack, carlin.substack.com. And I will be having, hopefully, a new podcast, a new Inner Circle podcast being released either later tonight or tomorrow. I've also got, there are so many articles coming about the American Library Association. I'm in pretty close contact with one of the guys that's leading that initiative to get state library associations to leave the American Library Association. He is doing so much work. I've got so much to talk about with that. We're going to be covering it all in the Substack. So guys, please head over there while we're watching our Andrew Tate interview. Just make sure you're subscribed. That's all. Now, I do hope we are going to be able to get through the Andrew Tate interview today, but just in case we can't, because we do have another couple hours left to go, I do have a stream coming up at 9:30 tonight because, of course, it is Tuesday. And on Tuesdays, my 5 p.m. stream is not my last stream of the day. It is but my first stream of the day. And who knows, maybe I'll even do another one after this one, in which we do nothing remotely controversial with Joshua at 9:30 Eastern time tonight. This is a fun, lighthearted look at the news. You better believe we're going to be asking Joshua if Andrew Tate is guilty of human trafficking. Joshua is a professional psychic. He goes by Joshua the Psychic on the Twitters and the YouTube. And he is actually he's actually freakishly accurate with making predictions. We talk about the news, what's going on in the world. Joshua then uses his psychic powers to help us peer beneath the surface and to give us more insight and to make some predictions about what is going on. And he really has gotten a lot of stuff right. And even if you don't believe in psychics, it's fun. Okay? I don't want to hear anyone poo-pooing tarot cards or astrology or any of that stuff. Sometimes people got to let their hair down. Sometimes people got to have fun. And everyone who watches Nothing Remotely Controversial regularly knows that everyone loves Joshua way more than you guys even like me. So it's okay. It's fine. I think I like him more than me too. That's why I keep him around. But we will be doing that at 9:30 p.m. tonight. So I hope you will return to join us. If you have not attended Nothing Remotely Controversial yet, it is a really fun show and we have a great time doing it. All right, guys, please mount that like button for me. There is a shocking disparity between the number of people watching right now and the number of people who have mounted that like button. So I will give you guys a moment as I'm getting the sound set up here to rectify that situation. We got through about 47 minutes of this interview yesterday. We're going to get through as much as we can. Let's get this party started, guys.
Put it in the kitchen. But if you turn up in somebody's house and it's a fucking mess, and nobody respects the house and nobody cares, and the man is drugged out of his mind, half asleep on the couch, what are you going to do with your cup? You're going to leave it there. You don't give a shit. If you turn up to the Western world and look at it,
then you're going to hit on his wife.
Absolutely. To happen in these scenarios, right? And it is purposeful and it is scary that even me just telling men to go to the gym is seen as an act of defiance to the point where I have to be punished. I must go to jail. I must.
Yes, we're going to see this a lot during this interview. Basically, all day yesterday was Andrew Tate going, I just want men to go to the gym and to have some self-respect, and I don't know, the system's trying to punish me because I just want men to go to the gym. I don't know why. I don't know why they're coming after me. I just want men to be healthy. So I suspect we're going to be hearing a lot of that today. I'm going to try not to do commentary every single effing time he does it, but just pay attention to that. Guys, like, so we are seeing a masterclass in a narcissist lying through his teeth right in front of us. And so there's really a lot we can learn by watching someone lie overtly and provably. And so let's just make sure we're looking for lessons in that we can apply to our real lives.
Silence. Thermometer must be broken.
If at the end of all of this, no matter what happens, do you plan to stay in Romania?
I love Romania. I love this country. And if I am found not guilty, I will stay in Romania. Yeah, I will still stay here. I don't believe in running away. I also believe, and perhaps this is...
Yeah, I didn't even want to ask you that because you've got a legal case pending, but I mean, presumably you're rich enough to run away when you have it.
Correct. I'm not going anywhere.
How did he make his money, Tucker?
I think if I was anywhere in the Western world, this would have happened to me. I don't think this is Romania's fault. Let's put it that way. I don't think this is Romania's fault. I think if I resided in Switzerland or France or Italy, the same thing would happen. From knowing what I know, I think it was going to happen to me regardless. And I think I do have a large amount of sympathy, especially amongst the Romanian population. I get thousands of messages a day from Romanians apologizing to me. I think the people here actually like me.
My waiter at lunch yesterday he wanted you to know, yeah.
Shit.
Amazing. This is what I mean. Everyone understands what's happening.
Shit, I get thousands of messages a day from Romanians apologizing to me.
Matrix attack
Bullshit.
What is the Matrix?
Good question. I guess some Americans call it the deep state, but I like to look at it in a more global way. When I say the Matrix, I think there are certain agendas which are being pushed. I think the media machine and the judicial systems of the world work together hand in hand. I think the goal is to control people's minds to a point where they don't discuss anything that's important. The reason I use the Matrix is because I've watched that movie a few times and it has so many similarities to the... Have you seen the movie?
No.
You've never seen the movie The Matrix?
No,
Tucker Carlson has never watched The Matrix?
I don't want to talk about it on camera. No, I'm very dyslexic and it's hard for me to watch video.
Got it.
Honestly.
Understood. But there's so many similarities. And the basic premise is that
Jesus
humans'
Christ.
minds are controlled and put inside of a false reality so that their body heat can be manifested for the machines. And I don't think it's much different to reality. Our minds are controlled. We're put in a false version of reality. We're told things aren't true. We're arguing over things that don't matter. We're observing a false version of events. And the goal of it is just to distract us long enough for our bodies to be used for the machines, to soulless. And I think it's pretty similar, striking similarities. And even then, there's a bunch of other similarities that are difficult for me to explain. You haven't watched the movie, but there are agents inside of the Matrix, and the idea of the agent is to make sure that nobody understands how the Matrix really works and to wake anybody's mind up. They want to keep you asleep. And any person can become an agent at any time. If they're not unplugged, if their mind is not free, they can become an agent, and their job is to keep you asleep. And you see,
Judy, you've never seen The Matrix either?
Awoken me to agents. When
We're
I
gonna have to have
sit
that for
and talk
movie
to
night,
somebody,
obviously.
they seem perfectly rational and normal until I mentioned COVID, and then they fully change. No, it's dangerous. No, what do you mean? What do you mean? Are you crazy? My grandma got sick, and they became an agent instantly and started repeating the news to me. And I was like, your grandma got sick. How old is she? 97? Interesting. Oh, I better lock myself in my house then. Dumbass. So agents exist and the Matrix exists, and I think most people's version of the world is a false one. The idea and the world that most people have in their mind and how society functions and how all these things function, I genuinely believe is completely false. I think they've all been lied to. I don't think anybody understands how any of the world works. And I try and use some very simple, very simple analogies to wake people up. I said to one of my friends once, I said, if me and you could play video games for $10,000 and you could cheat, would you cheat? He goes, well, no. I was like, if I was whooping your ass and it was 10 grand a game and you could cheat, would you cheat? He goes, yeah. I was like, all right, so you accept that people cheat to win in a video game for a menial amount of money. You think they're not going to cheat for something that matters?
Yeah. I think
they're not going to cheat for something important? You understand what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So
how about to get the most important job in the world, President of the United States?
I would never kill myself.
I mean, people kill each other over insurance fraud. You don't think, right? Yeah.
So when you actually understand how the world really works, you know what's really interesting? I remember there was this big military coup was it Myanmar or Burma? One of these. There was a big military coup like a year ago or something. And nobody really cared. They mentioned it on the news a little bit. And I looked at it and I looked into it. And they were talking about how the two political parties were almost 50-50. And then in the 90s, something changed. And now one political party just smokes the other one. And the military took over to restore democracy and all this stuff. It was very interesting, the voting machines they used.
Are you serious?
Something to look into.
Are you
A lot of countries
serious?
like that. Philippines, also true. Why do you think support for the war in Ukraine, support for Ukraine's side?
I hope everyone knows that what Andrew Tate doesn't give a shit about any of this. What Andrew Tate is doing is repeating the talking points that he knows the conservative right just eats up like fucking ice cream, and he's just going to repeat them over and over and over again, and then he's going to get everyone, yes, Andrew, yes, it was obvious fraud, it was we play fair, Andrew, we shouldn't play fair, they cheat all the time. And it's like, that's what he's doing. He doesn't give a fuck about who wins the presidency. He doesn't give a fuck about any of this. He is just repeating the talking points that he knows this audience loves to hear and will lick up every single day, no matter who says it, no matter how toxic of a person he is. And then he's using that to get the audience to ingratiate themselves to him and to basically be his defenders on the internet, because they're like, Andrew would never do these things, and he's being attacked by the machine. He's being attacked by the Matrix. It's not his fault. He didn't do anything. I really hope everyone actually sees what's going on. This is a narcissist using emotional manipulation to get people on his side so that they do his dirty work for him.
War against Russia, support for a war against Russia in the West is kind of the bottom line issue for the people who run the US government and for the American media. Why? I mean, I guess you could argue about it, but there isn't an argument about it in the United States. There's a position, and anyone who doesn't hold it is attacked and punished. Why? Why is that so important?
Well, the first thing I think we should all do is I think we should all give Putin credit for curing COVID, right? Because when his invasion happened, COVID went away.
So thought about that.
Think about it. It's almost to the day. So we have to give him some credit at least for doing that. He may be the bad guy of the world, but at least he cured COVID for everybody nearly instantly.
Fair.
Thank you, President Putin.
Talking point.
Yeah. I, up until this point, never really commented too heavily on politics.
Yes.
But I understand very well, I like to believe what's happening with Ukraine and Russia. And what I will say to the people who are watching this at home is that if you are naive enough to believe that there are good guys and bad guys in wars, and it's as simple as good and bad, and that the bad guys are crazy and the good guys want freedom, then you need to do a little bit more investigation into what's really happening. And when you look at the vested interest of any country or any person.
Can I just ask you to pause and just comment? That's the truest thing, what you just said. That is and anyone who doesn't understand that should shut the fuck up. And I mean it. Having seen war.
You know, on my supporter call last night, we were talking about maybe Tucker Carlson is just, he's laying a trap for Andrew Tate, and maybe he's going to come back to the United States and he's going to see all the obvious evidence of Andrew Tate admitting that he was an internet pimp, and then he's going to see the videos of Andrew Tate quite literally beating the shit out of women, and Tucker's going to do this big like expose saying, we got you, Andrew, we caught you lying. We were kind of talking last night about like, what is the best case scenario for Tucker Carlson coming out of this is if Tucker Carlson went to Romania to set a trap to get Andrew Tate to say stuff on camera, and then he got the hell out of Dodge and then came back to the United States and told the true story. However, I don't think that's going to happen because Tucker Carlson is like flirting with Andrew Tate. It's gross. I don't know if I'm ever going to be able to trust Tucker Carlson again after this interview unless he comes out and admits how effing wrong he was, or does some sort of thing where he's like, you know, maybe Andrew Tate isn't actually the good guy. Maybe there's enough video evidence that I damn well should have been prepped with prior to this interview that clearly shows that Andrew Tate is not the good guy and that he snowed us. I swear, it's so. I just continue to be so disappointed in this.
Anyone who's telling you that it's Churchill versus Hitler is an idiot.
Complete. Well, I'll give you an example. When my father was still alive, when my father,
Excuse me.
yeah, no, it's true. When my father was still alive, my father died 6 or 7 years ago. I was a lot younger. The war in Afghanistan was going
He
on.
died 6 or 7
You got to get
years
more
ago. How old was
perceptive,
he?
bro.
56.
He's not just
Oh,
interviewing him.
yeah,
He's
right.
basically sucking his
But,
dick right now.
The war in Afghanistan was going on. And I remember asking my dad, saying, why do the Taliban even fight and resist the American war machine? They don't stand a chance. Like, why are these terrorists even fighting against the American war machine? And my dad said, they're fighting for their way of life. They want their wife and they want their children and they want their society and their language, and they don't want pride flags and they don't want American bullshit and they don't want to be told what to do. And they're fighting to be a culture and be a people which is independent in and of itself. Like, they're not the bad guys you think they are. They're people who are like, why are you here? What do you want? We don't agree with that. That's against our holy book. Fuck off. Right? So even there's no such thing as good and bad in any war. And people.
Who is your father?
My father was a chess master. He worked for the CIA when he was a linguist for the CIA.
Really?
And then he was
Is that true?
American. He was discharged, and for a story I won't tell, but he was a chess master, and it's very interesting. I encourage people to look at his Twitter. He still has Twitter at Tate Terrific, and everything he was talking about 11 years ago is so important now. 11 years ago, no one cared about. We had the Donbass in 2014. People cared.
Yes.
People cared a bit, but he was literally, he predicted the future. You want to see how chess players can see the future? Read his Twitter. Everything from LGBTQ, why they need your kids because they can't have their own, to the war that's coming and how Europe's going to have an energy crisis, to the letter. It's all on his Twitter. It's amazing to read. It's like you could tell the future. 10 years ago, no one talked about any of this stuff.
Did he live in the U.S.?
Yes. Yeah, he lived in America.
Fascinating.
Yeah, it's crazy. But he was telling me about a lot of this stuff, even when I was a lot younger. And as we said, there's no good guys and bad guys. But when you have a vested interest in something, I think that people are relatively simple. You're talking about why the American government has such a vested interest in this war.
Which is not good for America.
Which is not good for America. So is it, well, we can say it's for money or we can say it's for power. What else would it be for? What is it really for freedom and democracy? Well, I think that's already been destroyed by Zelensky, hasn't it? So
yes.
What is it for if it's not for money and power? And then you say, well, who's the money and the power going to? These are logical conversations. It's a very logical thought process.
I agree.
You know, wouldn't it be interesting to say, okay, I woke up, I'm an American.
Why is Andrew Tate even being interviewed about this? Like, can I just ask a really naive question? Is Andrew Tate some sort of fucking diplomat? Is Andrew Tate some sort of like international relations expert? Is he some sort of like, has he been like, I mean, like he had conversations with his dad and his dad told him stuff. So now we're going to look to Andrew Tate for to be an expert on foreign wars. I don't understand why this is like, why does his opinion even matter on this stuff? Oh, because he's got a name and we have to get views on something, don't we?
I would never kill myself. I woke up, I'm an American. Why does America care? Well, I guess it's for money or power. There's no other reason. Okay. Well, America wants to be a rich, powerful country. I mean, that's fine.
The fact that Andrew Tate keeps saying, I will never kill myself. I will never kill myself. Well, okay. Do you guys know what that means? It means that Andrew Tate truly and honestly has convinced himself that he is somewhat important enough for like a world government conspiracy to try to assassinate him. Or he wants other people to believe that he's that important. I hate to like break the news to people. Andrew Tate, in the grand scheme of things, is not actually that important. He's not. He was like a kickboxer, and then he started a pimp OnlyFans business where he gave women that he fucked and then emotionally manipulated a lot of alcohol to do webcam work for him, and he took all their money. And did many worse things than that, I'm sure. Andrew Tate is not that important. Why Andrew Tate really thinks that any government or any, worldwide globalist group wants him dead is just be, oh, I just tell men to go to the gym. That's all I do. I just tell men to go to the gym. Elena, thank you for the super chat. There is only a few ways you can make that kind of money. Tate has no visible business, sex, drugs, rock and roll, baby. Exactly. Why hasn't Tucker Carlson asked him, how did you make all your money? Because I'm just gonna, like, I don't know, maybe kickboxers really do get paid that much money. Maybe they do. But when was the last time Andrew Tate was doing that on a professional level? And what has he been doing since? And how is he maintaining this lifestyle? And why is he on video bragging about having several dozen women doing webcam work on OnlyFans, not on TikTok, Tucker? All Tucker Carlson has to ask him, where'd you make your money? How are you making your money? What's your business? Those are the questions Tucker Carlson should be asking, not Andrew, can you please comment on geopolitical affairs that you are not even involved in and give us your expert opinion on Russia versus Ukraine, even though you have no reason to be interviewed as an expert on the topic. It makes no sense.
Is the money and power going to America, or is it going to a select few individuals? Are those select individuals interested in me and my life? Do they care about benefiting me? Do I need to support the power grab of these select few individuals? Is that going to be a smart move for me to make, for me to have the best possible human experience? Like, this is a very logical thought process.
Yes.
People don't seem to think anymore. They believe that there's a good guy and there's a bad guy, and one team's completely good and one team's completely bad. One team's crazy. They often use the word crazy because to be completely bad, you have to be crazy, right? So you're crazy. He's crazy just for no reason. Reasonless. Insanity. I don't know if you saw Lukashenko with the BBC. Did you ever see that interview?
No.
Oh, brother. Please watch it. The way he destroys the BBC. I thought I did the best job, but I take second place. Amazing. Amazing. But yeah, and you just have to be critically thinking. And then after you're critically thinking, you have to be brave enough. And this is the real pandemic of the world, is cowardice. You have to be brave enough to look around you and realize, everything was a trick. Everything was a lie.
But why not be a coward? I mean, it's just a lot easier, right?
Well, it used to be. This is the thing that's interesting. I would actually argue in the 1950s and 60s.
Exactly.
This
is exactly my point. This is exactly my point. If Tucker Carlson were interviewing Britney Spears, we'd be like, Britney, what is your view on the Russia-Ukraine war? No. No, he would not ask that, because why would Britney Spears even know about that at all? And I feel the same way with Andrew Tate. I'm sorry. It's like, bro, come on. Let's not pretend you're smarter than you are because you're a raging fucking moron.
The law and do exactly what you were supposed to do and pay your taxes, etc. You'd at least get a wife who respected you. You'd at least have children who could go to school without being indoctrinated to a degree. Yeah. You could have a nice house. You could have a pickup truck. You could have a pretty good life if you just followed the rules.
Yes.
I don't think that's true anymore. I think that if you are a man, especially, and this is what I talk about masculine issues. If you're a man who is born and you decide to do exactly as you're told, you're going to end up depressed, in debt, working a job that you hate, with a wife who doesn't respect you, with kids who don't listen to you, in a house you don't own, until she leaves you. And then you contemplate suicide a while. And maybe you might find some purpose towards the end, enough to survive and pay your taxes, and then you're gone.
This is how he gets men to give him his money.
Who just follows the programming is going to find
that's
any
his sales
happiness.
Pitch. Andrew Tate.
I don't care.
Hang on.
Why would
Andrew Tate has a vested interest in convincing men that they are poor victims of the world and they will just be miserable if they just go out there and do all the things that other men do, and they'll just be miserable, and they're gonna end up contemplating offing themselves at some point because life is just too hard for men right now. Andrew Tate has a vested monetary interest in convincing men that that's true, even though it's not true at all. It's only true if you believe it's true. And that if Andrew Tate actually convinces men to believe it, they pony up and give him money, which is all he really cares about anyway. He doesn't care about helping men. He doesn't care about helping men to be better, healthier, have stronger boundaries, or be more empowered, or any of that bullshit. He only cares about saying what he needs to get men to open their wallets and give him all their money. Andrew Tate is quite literally doing what he accuses the wives of doing to these men, which is taking all their money and then leaving them and divorcing them. No. That is the ironclad law of narcissistic projection. That is exactly what Andrew Tate is going to do to these people.
Would they? They have no interest in masculine happiness. This is another thing that's very interesting. They talk about men's mental health all the time, especially in the UK. I'm not sure about America, but in the UK, they have this big drive for men's mental health, saying that men commit more suicides. Men
A lot more.
Because it's hard to be a man. We commit more suicides. We're more depressed. We have all these mental health problems. I come along. I genuinely get thousands of emails a day saying I'm helping men's mental health. But no, can't help it the way Andrew wants. You can't tell them to go to the gym and stand up for themselves and have pride.
I'm just telling
what kind
them
of man is going to have a solid mentality and not have mental health issues?
I'm just telling them to go to the gym.
It's part of being a man. Part of being a man is proud of yourself. If you wake up and you're not proud of who you are and how you look and the things you say, how are you ever going to have a solid mentality? So when I teach things that genuinely help men's mental health, that's outlawed. No, you're not allowed to do that. Instead, you have to take our version, which is to pretend to care about men's mental health, but not give a shit. Give them a life they know they're not going to enjoy, pay taxes, and die. And men are the backbone.
And medicate them.
And medicate them. Medicate them long enough to keep working. The same way as we medicate farm animals. Just a bunch of injections. Yeah, just keep them alive long enough to get the milk. Milk's gone. Chop the head off. Boom.
They need to put you in prison.
They're trying.
Yeah. I can see why.
They're trying.
Suck his dick a little harder,
scary.
Tucker. Get ready to
swallow. A lot of
swallow,
people, but then
honey.
what do? Do I just shut up?
No.
You don't think so?
No, you can't shut up. I mean, because in the end, your self-respect, your dignity is the only thing.
That's right. And this is what people don't understand. People say, Andrew, why are you fighting this war? And they don't understand that war is certain. You either fight war against injustice.
Look at him looking into the camera.
Things you know that are wrong and you feel good inside of yourself, or you accept the slave programming and fight a war with your own mind. You have to fight something. Yes. I can shut up and believe what I'm told in the news, but then I won't. Why am I so unhappy all the time? Why am I depressed? Why does my life suck? Why does my woman ignore me? Why do my children not respect me? You're fighting a war. Then you're fighting a war with your own mind. I'd rather have all of me on side and fight against what I know is genuinely evil. You can't escape the battle. The battle is here for all of us. So I've made my decision, and that's why I can't be quiet, because you just said I would lose my self-respect and I'd lose my dignity, and I don't think I can function that way as a man. And I don't think any man should be able to function without self-respect and dignity. The reason men died on the Titanic was for self-respect and dignity. They went into the icy cold water and died because they would feel honorless if they jumped on the boat and left the women to die.
That's right.
So when you have self-respect and dignity, you have a hard parameter, and you'll do things which are deemed crazy or insane because you believe in them and you stick up for yourself. And that's why they don't want men to have self-respect and dignity.
Rather be a free man in your grave.
Absolutely.
Wait,
so, I can't be quiet. I'm gonna say what
that doesn't even make sense. That makes no sense. Andrew Tate is like, they don't want men to have self-respect and dignity. And then Andrew Tate is like, do you know why men put women and children first when the Titanic was sinking and they literally went into the icy cold water? Those men sacrificed themselves for those poor women and children because they had self-respect and dignity. And that is why people don't want men to have self-respect. That was the most horrible analogy that Andrew Tate could have possibly made, because he literally just said, if men have self-respect and dignity, they will literally sacrifice their lives to protect women and children, to maintain their core principles. So which is it, Andrew? Do you want men to have self-respect and dignity, or do you want them to think that you're selling them self-respect and dignity when in fact all you're doing is selling your snake oil to get them to open their wallets and give you all their money?
what I believe is true, and I genuinely believe I'm helping the world. I think that any young man
what the fuck, Twitter?
a follower of mine, I will argue there's no influencer on the planet besides me who is genuinely benefiting their life. I know you're not big on the internet. I look at these other streamers and these other influencers.
What?
They play video games all day. They smoke weed on stream. They talk garbage. It's a bunch of drama back and forth like girls. I'm the only influencer or streamer who's genuinely talking about making money, because you need to have money to escape the matrix. It's very hard to resist enslavement when you have to pay the bills. Getting physically strong, because a strong body is a strong mind. Standing up for yourself, self-motivation, all these things. I'm talking about genuinely positive things. Very few people are. And I think that is an extremely important message that needs to be told. And I'm not going to stop doing it because I know I'm genuinely helping the world. And
I'm the only one that can save all the men on the internet. I'm the only one that can do it, Tucker. All these other influencers on the internet, they're just playing video games and smoking weed. And I'm the only one that can save all of them, Tucker. And they want to put me in jail for it. That's why they want to put me in jail, because I'm the only one that can save all the men.
They're going to try and punish me for it for the rest of my life. I think this is just beginning. And I think when I beat this case, which I believe I will beat, I think something else is going to come. And it's kind of scary because I am a little bit afraid and a little bit intimidated by the incompetence of my enemy, because their standardized playbook is now failing in real time. The standardized playbook is the media attack, the lie, and it's not working anymore. And it got me a little bit worried about what the next move is. You used to just be able to lie about a guy all over the news and you win, right? But now it's like, shut up. So now what? I don't know. And that's what's kind of scary in my scenario, because nobody's going to believe any of the crap they print about me. Nobody believes it. Nobody believes it. Whenever I do an interview with the Matrix media, nobody believes. They have to turn the comments off because everyone in the comments are just ripping them apart.
Well, you do seem very sad on the verge of killing yourself, are you?
Absolutely not. Really not. I never would. And that's what
you said that. I know.
I have to keep saying it. I have to keep saying it because it's scary, right? But I believe
because
you get 3 lives.
They want to kill me, Tucker, just as I'm telling men to go to the gym.
And then when that fails, they try and put you in jail without a reason. And if that fails, there's only one option left after that.
That's right.
So I'm in a very scary scenario. But I guess the same as the men on the Titanic just couldn't get on the lifeboat. I just can't stop saying what I believe to be true. If a young man comes to me and says he's depressed, I'm going to tell him how to become a kind of man who's proud of himself. And if that makes him...
Listen, I know I asked this yesterday, but can someone please, for the love of all that is good in the world, email HG Tutor or comment or do whatever you need to get him to talk about this video? Because I desperately want to hear HG Tutor's analysis on this video. Because HG Tutor, and we're going to probably watch these tomorrow, HG Tutor, who's like the world narcissism expert, the most narcissist of all narcissists, the ultra narcissist, like whatever. He's got a great YouTube channel and talks about Meghan Markle way too fucking much. But he does have a whole playlist about Andrew Tate. And so he's looked into this before. And I really, 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 really want the ultra narcissist to analyze this interview. And I want to know what he thinks about it. Do I think Andrew Tate believes his own lies? Yes, I do, because Andrew Tate is a moron. He is not that smart. And so he's not going to be like HG Tutor and be like a self-aware narcissist. He's not that smart. So I really do think that he believes everything that he says. But what we all need to keep in mind is that everything that Andrew Tate is saying is driven by his narcissism and his need to keep his self-construct in order. So regardless of whether or not he believes it, it doesn't mean it's true.
The kind of person that resists slave programming, I'm always going to be public enemy number 1.
No, don't get him angry.
You said
Email him
depression
nice.
Isn't real,
Be
or
nice.
It's not, as the way we describe depression isn't accurate. What do you think of depression?
When I say depression isn't real, that really upset the world, especially the liberals, because they all live on medication, right? When I say depression isn't real, I'm saying that because I don't believe in things that can take away power from me. If I believed in depression, I would have been depressed in jail. But I can't be depressed if I don't believe in it. If you don't believe in ghosts, how can you be haunted? You have 2 people in a haunted house. One believes in ghosts, one doesn't. There's a knock in the night. One wakes up, calls an exorcist, is terrified, looks for a ghost. The other guy doesn't believe in ghosts. Knock in the night, goes back to sleep. It's the belief in the ghost that gives it the power. If I don't believe in depression, I believe in feeling depressed. Sure, we're humans, we have emotions. Sometimes we feel depressed, sometimes we feel happy.
You don't have emotions, Andrew.
I don't believe in the idea of becoming a depressed person who has depression. I don't believe in that. I don't think that's possible for me. So if I don't believe in it, how can it happen? I don't believe in depression. So why would I not adopt the mindset that makes me the most capable predator I can possibly be? Why not adopt the mindset that makes me as competent and as fearsome as possible? If you have to install software in your own mind, why would I not install software that makes me...
So the points he's making here, separate from Andrew Tate being a raging narcissist, he's actually making really good points about like how you see yourself, what you like. If you don't see yourself as a person that can suffer from depression, then you're not going to get depressed. That's actually very true. And so occasionally, maybe he might sprinkle in some good points because he's adopted these self-help talking points, but that didn't come from Andrew Tate. Andrew Tate didn't invent that. That's been talked about for a millennium. Like, how you see yourself matters, how you talk about yourself matters. You don't need to buy into anyone's beliefs about you. And you know what? Narcissists are fucking masters of this. They cannot see themselves as anything less than perfect. So of course, I mean, and I really think that, like, if we look at another narcissist, Donald Trump, yes, he is. I'm sorry, he is. But the reason that Donald Trump got elected president in 2016 is because he could literally see no reality in which he would not be elected president. So your perception of yourself matters. And so that's actually a positive takeaway we can take from this so far. Rottweilers, thank you for the super chat, but where's your Bugatti? Oh God, I was actually asked this earlier. Like, some Tate simp replied to me. It was like, what car did you have? I'm like, why the fuck does it matter what car I have? It's not going to make Andrew Tate any less of a needle dick narcissist, honey. But they really do say that. It's gross.
Capable of not only driving a Bugatti and flying on private jets, but sitting in a Romanian dungeon covered in cockroaches. I need to be able to do all of it. So why would I believe in something that made me incapable? I don't believe in depression because I think that even the belief in and of itself, when you feel depressed, you'll start to consider, maybe I have depression. Then you go see a psychiatrist who tells you have depression. Then they want you on pills. It's the belief that goes down the spiral. If I feel sad, I go, I'm depressed today. I'll be fine tomorrow.
So why? I suspect you're right, or what you're saying is pointing toward truth. That's my personal view. But even if I disagreed with you, I disagree with you. Why is that so offensive, what you just said?
It's
well, that's
not.
What's interesting, because when I said depression wasn't real, the number of people who would attack me defending depression, this is why I didn't understand.
Right.
You say depression isn't real, but depression's ruined my life, and it's super real, and it's ruined my life, and I lost my marriage. I'm like, if I told you it wasn't real, you should be coming to me saying, tell me how it's not real. Please help me with my depression. Why are you trying to convince me that it's real? Why are you sticking up for it?
And why are you defending depression?
And why would I adopt the thinking of someone who's sad? Why would I? You're going to convince me to take your worldview. You just told me your wife left you, you're fat, and you want to kill yourself. And you want me to sit here and go.
Yeah, he's actually making a good point right here. Like, and people like, I mean, and the same thing has happened to me when I say stuff like this, and I'm like, when I say like, I don't know, things happen for a reason or something like that. And everyone's like, but what about my childhood trauma? My childhood trauma did not happen for a reason. Okay, well, if you want to believe that your childhood trauma destroyed your life and that you can have no possible good life because of what happened to you as a kid when you were taken out of control, you're welcome to believe that, Mises Caucus. But I choose to believe that shit that happened to me when I was a kid did not actually destroy my entire life, that it did, that it did help me become the person that I needed to become for whatever lessons I need to learn, and that I can move beyond it and transcend whatever trauma I experienced in childhood. I'm not going to adopt your fucking trauma story just because you're having feelings about this because you haven't worked out your own baggage yet. That's not my responsibility. Jeff Douglas, Mises Caucus, go fuck yourself. And so, like, I actually agree with his point on this. I do. Elena, thank you for the super chat. HG Tutor will mention the following: revision of history, pity play, assertion of control, sense of entitlement, lack of boundary recognition. I would add to that. Yeah, he would. I think that Andrew Tate in this interview has basically hit on like HG Tutor's entire like narcissism checklist like over and over and over again. But I agree with your analysis, Elena. Thank you.
Oh, with my perfect life and go, you know what? I want to think like this guy. You're out your mind. I don't believe in it. And because I don't believe in it, it's made me the kind of person who can't become depressed. And the reason they don't like me attacking that is because depression is a fantastic way to subdue a population, right? If everybody's depressed, it's hard to have a revolution. You're depressed. Oh, they've locked us all in our houses. I don't want to go outside anyway. I'm sad, right? So depression's a fantastic tool of population control. They have no problem with you being depressed. They have a problem with you being the opposite, principled and energetic. No, you don't want principled, energetic people. That's a problem. A bunch of depressed people, Easy. If you had to invade a country, would you rather the opposing army be principled and energetic or depressed?
I'll tell you, I would not want to be invaded by a cheerful army.
Absolutely.
That's scary.
They're having too much fun, right? You want them all to be depressed. So
a morose army is easier to defeat. I agree.
Absolutely. So depression is a defended idea. You're not allowed to even talk about it. You're not allowed to help people get out of it, right? They like the idea of a depressed population. And this is what I say to people. Now, I'm not stupid. I understand like PTSD is real. I understand mental health is real. I'm not saying that, but I say if you're an 18-year-old boy or 18-year-old man and your life is pretty much okay, bacteria didn't steal your eyesight, which could have happened. You never had a car crash and lost both of your legs, which could have happened. You're actually very fortunate. And you wake up and you say, I'm depressed. I think you're an idiot. I don't think you're depressed. I think you've been psyoped. I think you feel a little bit of depression and you can fix that by changing your life. I think if you became rich and strong and smart and successful and you worked hard and you dedicated yourself and you were motivated and you tried your very, very best to become excellent, you probably wouldn't feel depressed anymore, which means it's not a disease, is it? So why would you, the only reason you're even saying you have depression is because you believe in it.
So you're arguing for cause and effect. You're saying if you live a certain way, you're going to feel a certain way.
Absolutely. And I also would argue that I think we've evolutionarily, even though I do believe in God, I think that we've designed ourselves and the human has grown into a way where if you feel depressed or sad, I think that's a fantastic trigger or a warning signal to do something. If you were to say to me, Andrew, you have to complete this monumental task. You have to conquer the world. I would say, okay, but I need a emotional motivation to do that. I need to be unhappy having not completed the task. You know, I need to be uncomfortable, right? If you're uncomfortable being out of shape, you'll get in shape. If you're happy being out of shape, then you're just going to stay out of shape, right? So if you feel a degree of uncomfortableness inside of your mind, I think it's just your mind telling you that something about your life needs to change.
Yes.
You need to get up and change something. Guys would say to me, I'm depressed because I'm fat and I have no girlfriend. And I'd say, no, you have no girlfriend and you're fat and that's why you're depressed. If you go change those two things, you'd probably be surprised that your disease goes away. I had another guy say he was going to kill himself. I said, listen, it's back when I used to reply to my emails.
Well, that's not exactly true either. I mean, it's not like Andrew Tate is not correct when he says if you just, lose weight and get a girlfriend, you're not going to be depressed anymore, because that's not how that works. Your experience does not dictate your emotions. Your emotions dictate your experience. If you don't want to be depressed anymore, you have to make the decision to not fucking be depressed anymore. And I know that sounds overly simplistic. It's really not. It's like the hardest thing to do in the world. But you have to decide, and he kind of was waffling around this earlier, and this is how you can tell that he really doesn't understand what he's talking about. He's just repeating self-help talking points, but I wrote a whole self-help book, motherfucker, and I was talking about this stuff for a while on the internet, so I actually do understand it. The thing of it is you have to decide and believe with every fiber of your being, I am a person who is happy. I'm a person who has life. I'm a person who has resiliency. I'm a person who has energy. I'm a person that shows up in the world. You have to see yourself as a person that is the entire opposite of a person who is depressed. And if you can do that, it doesn't matter if you have a girlfriend or not. It doesn't matter if you're overweight or not. These are symptoms. These are not causes. If you can see yourself as a happy person and shows up in the world, you can be happy at any weight, whether or not you're single, whether you're married, whether you have money, whether you don't. Your emotions your emotions dictate your experience. Your experience does not dictate your emotions.
Let's get a six-pack first.
Of beer?
I said, get a six-pack first, get in fantastic shape, and then do whatever you want. Didn't want to kill himself once he's in fantastic shape.
So he did it?
Yeah. I have the before and after. I put him on Twitter. Kind of interesting, that, isn't it? So how are we going to say we have this disease, which is cause and effect? How are we going to say we have this disease where there's something wrong with you as a man, you have a disease because your life sucks? I don't think that's true. I think that your life just sucks and you should change it. And another thing I also preach, and this is another thing that's very important, I also think as a man, because life as a man is pain and suffering. And when I say that, because you're never going to be a good man or good at being a man without pain and suffering. You're going to have to go through a bunch of shit and have a terrible life to become a good man. I think you should embrace that and accept it. And I think that the correct mental model for men to have is a degree of stoicism.
No, this is not true. This is incorrect. If you don't believe depression exists, you won't be depressed because you will not be able to embrace a construct in which you are actually capable of being depressed. So this isn't true.
And not to be too concerned with even how they feel. If I woke up today happy, I would have done this interview with you. If I woke up today sad, I would have done this interview with you. What's the difference? Why put so much importance on my emotion if certain things must be done? I must work, I must train, I must see Tucker Carlson, I must resist the Matrix.
You've got duties.
I've got things to do. So why are we going to sit around and talk about how I feel if it doesn't even affect how I act? And as a man, it shouldn't, because there's too much to do.
Thank you.
And the masculine world is hyper competitive. This is another thing most people don't understand.
Totally agree.
It's hyper competitive out here. All the women want a few men at the top. The Ferrari, you don't want a Ferrari to drive fast. You want a Ferrari because other men want a Ferrari and can't have one. It's hyper competitive. So if you're competing against every other man,
not everyone wants a Ferrari.
Every girl you see, the house you live in, the car you drive, the life you live, you're not going to be able to compete with the person who performs regardless of how they feel if you only compete.
I promise you guys, if you are basing your life and your happiness over whether or not you have a certain car, you are never going to truly be happy. Happiness does not come because you own an expensive sports car. It doesn't come because you have a big house. It doesn't come because you have a pretty wife who, by the way, at some point your wife is going to get older. Not always going to be pretty. That's not how happiness comes. Happiness comes because you decide that you are a person that is happy. There are people that have very, very impoverished existences, something that Andrew Tate would never lower himself to even be around or acknowledge, that lead very happy and very fulfilled lives, and they don't have expensive cars and they don't have expensive houses and any of these things. You have to see yourself as a person that is happy and fulfilled and content, and be honest with yourself about the things that make you really happy, because those things that make you happy, quite frankly, might not be what society tells you that you need to be happy. There will always be an Andrew Tate telling you that if you just get that fast car and you just get that six-pack and you just get that hot girlfriend, then you're going to be happy. But I bet you there are a lot of guys who do have that fast car and do have that six-pack and do have that hot girlfriend that are still not happy and still not fulfilled, and they're still searching for what's going to make them happy, when in fact, all they really need to do is decide that they are a person that lives a happy and fulfilled and beautiful life in which they want of nothing. Material possessions will never make us happy, guys. It is the emotions that we decide to have that will make us happy.
Compete when you feel like competing, right? Because there's men like me out there who will be sad every day and outcompete you regardless.
God,
I don't care.
Billy
how I
Zane
feel.
is so much more hotter than Andrew Tate.
And that's the kind of mindset you
Billy
need to
Zane
adopt.
like that. Billy Zane was hot.
So I don't. When a man
comes, a job to do, stop whining. Go to work.
Completely.
Yeah, I agree.
Completely.
Yes.
So when men say, "Oh, but I feel sad," who cares? The world doesn't care. All the men who are out here to destroy you and take your girl don't care. So why do you care? Like the person who should care least is you.
Why do you want a girl?
You're the only person who wakes up every day who should have a genuine vested interest in improving your life. Nobody else wakes up and wants to improve your life. Only you. So if nobody else cares about how you feel, why do you care? So my argument also for depression is, you're depressed, fine. Have you trained today? Well, that doesn't change what you should do with your life, depressed or not. And I don't say this because I'm an eternally happy person. I say this because I've experienced all ranges of human emotion. I was in a Romanian jail cell with cockroaches crawling all over me as I slept. I never missed a day of training.
You know what movie Billy Zane was hottest in? Because it wasn't even Titanic. It was the Tales from the Crypt movie. You guys remember Tales from the Crypt, Demon Knight? This is a great movie. If you've never seen Tales from the Crypt, Demon Knight, Billy Zane was the evil villain in this movie, and he was so fucking hot. Oh, I'm gonna watch Tales from the Crypt, Demon Knight the first chance I get. It's an older movie, but it's so good.
Training. I wouldn't say I was particularly happy, but push-ups must be done. So they got done.
You're very close to your brother.
Correct.
And you were locked away for part of that with him. And did you have fun at all with him?
Yes. I do think there's something inside of men Whereas if you're with your boys or you're with your group of men, there's something inside of us.
Totally.
And it allows you to make the absolute best of the worst situations. Maybe that's an evolution from war. You know, all the men went to war and you saw all this pain and suffering and you saw heads, people decapitated and you're injured, but then you sit around the campfire and you're laughing.
You're laughing. That's right.
It's something inside of us. It's like a coping mechanism when you're around men. So when me and him were together, no matter how bad the scenario or no matter what they tried to do to us, part of us would just look at each other like, cigarette? And you find joy in that. And yeah, there's definitely, and that's another thing I think a lot of men are lacking. A lot of men are missing is a masculine support network. I think buddies.
Yeah.
You know, you talk to a guy and say, what was the highlight of your life? What was the best time of your life? And they'll say, college football. It's not about the football. It's about the team.
Yeah.
You know? And I think a lot of that's destroyed as well. Because also it's interesting how everything interconnects. When you destroy honor and principle and the masculine essence inside of men, well, now as a man, it's very hard to have friends. I wouldn't want to have a male friend who had no principles, no honors, and didn't work hard and was always crying about being sad. What do I want to hang around with him for? He's a loser, right? So then your support network's destroyed. And I think that men have always needed that since the dawn of time. And I think that's gone. But
they don't have friends. Men, especially middle-aged men, have no friends.
Absolutely, because
of course you have female friends, Autumn. You're a woman.
Do as the wife says.
Don't pretend you're a man. We all know it's
not true. No wonder he wants to kill himself, wouldn't you? No wonder he's depressed. It sounds like the worst existence ever. And now we're living in a world now, especially where everything is hyper-competitive, especially the sexual marketplace. Like if you're a 52-year-old, overweight, average income, no fame dude, and you have to find a girl, it's going to be pretty difficult.
It's not that hard, actually.
It's going to be very hard.
It's not that hard.
So we're like, of course he's lonely.
See, again,
and his kids don't respect him. They're busy.
Like Andrew Tate is trying to get, like, if you're just an average guy and you're not you're a famous kickboxer and you're not famous on the internet, then it is just impossible for you to find a woman. It is impossible for you to find a good woman. It is just not going to happen. You can hope and wish and wish upon a star and you know and think happy thoughts, but it's just not going to you cannot possibly find a good woman unless you are me and famous on the internet. And so do you know what you have to do? You have to give me all your money so I can teach you how to find a good woman. And because you just can't do it on your own, you know you've tried and it just didn't work out. But if you give me all your money, I will teach you how to get a girl. If you want to meet someone, then you need to go and do things with people in the real world around shared interests and hobbies. Go to meetups, go to things in the real world. Don't do online dating. Stop fucking online dating. Online dating is not going to make you help you meet anyone good. I promise you. I mean, maybe every once in a blue moon it works out, but online dating is like the bane of every single person's existence. I'm sorry. Go into the real world. Go do activities with people in the real world. Go meet people in the real world. And I promise you, at some point, and it may not happen right away, but you got to keep going. You got to keep leaving your house and getting out from behind the computer screen. You will meet someone that you have shared interests in common with because you met doing an activity that you both enjoy. That's how you meet people and develop functional human relationships.
Of course he's sad. It's actually heartbreaking to discuss.
It is heartbreaking.
It's heartbreaking. But then how do you prevent that happening? Well, then you need to be a man of honor and principle and make sure that you keep your support networks and make sure that your woman does respect you. And a woman's going to respect you when she sees other men respect you.
Yes.
And they're only going to respect you if you respect yourself. But to respect yourself, you have to be the kind of person who says no.
What do you think of porn?
Oh, God. Here we go. Autumn, if I come to London and we go do that Karl Marx walking tour together, are you going to try to sleep with me? I just want to be prepared, Autumn. I want to make sure we're on the same page. I bully Autumn in the chat relentlessly. I'm starting to feel bad about how much I fucking bully Autumn in the chat. Anyway, porn. Okay, let's talk about it.
There's been some statistics. There's been some studies done. Most men or less men are having sex than ever before.
I've seen that.
Yeah, and
What
that's
is that?
Well, that's an extension of the fact that masculine virtue is being destroyed. That's the thing that's interesting about all these things. They psyop, especially men. They say, listen, women want a feminist man. Women want a man with no moral principle who would make sure that there's a conversation about who should fight the burglar when your house is broken into, because equal opportunities, equal rights, of course. Don't presume just because you're a man that you should defend her physically. Of course not. That makes you a bigot and a misogynist. So they convince men to adopt these virtues in ways. And of course, women, by and large, dislike them for it. So now as masculinity is plummeted, a whole bunch of men are simply not having sex anymore. And then they become addicted to porn, which is cucking, effectively. Two people are having sex and you're just watching it. and it's become
Good point.
I mean,
really?
And it's become a pandemic, right? So men are replacing genuine sexual relationships with just the computer screen and porn. And it's becoming a very, very big problem. And that's also exasperated by the fact that I think the sexual market.
You literally make your money producing fucking porn. If you think that porn is the great evil of the world, then why in the ever-loving F do you have so many women working for you doing OnlyFans? When is Tucker Carlson going to ask him, how do you make your money, Andrew?
Marketplace has become globalized. This is the thing I say to young men. A lot of men come to me with problems, and my only answer to them is masculine excellence. I say that in the world we live in today, being a normal man or below normal is going to be terrible.
Autumn, I'm sorry. I hate to break the news to you. I really like dick, Autumn. I don't like women. I cannot even imagine. But like I appreciate that you feel like you've got some game. I appreciate like you feel like you could get me into bed if you wanted to. I don't know. Maybe someday when we do our little London excursion, we'll give you a chance to try and we'll see how that goes. But I don't like women, Autumn. It's okay. It's okay. It's not you, it's me. It's fine.
You have to be an exceptional man because the sexual marketplace, especially, even if you just want to find a wife, is globalized. If you, in 1955, if you met the hot girl in the Nebraskan town, she was the hot girl in the Nebraskan town.
It's true, Autumn.
If you meet her today,
I'm sorry.
She's being offered to go to Courchevel and go skiing in France, and she's being offered to fly to Dubai. And there's millionaires who can just fly her anywhere and give her anything she wants. And who are you? Right? It's getting harder and harder as a man to even find the most basic human function of reproduction. Even to just find a woman you can reproduce with, it's becoming more and more difficult. You also couple that with the fact that they've destroyed morality in women also. So when you destroy the morality in men and you destroy how a man should act, and then you destroy how a woman should act, you're both going in the opposite direction. Most women out there are very happy to share a man who's just rich and famous, and they don't care.
It's
right. So if you're the normal guy, there's this rich famous guy with 30 girls. That's 29 dudes.
Autumn, if you don't get me on Sam Cedar's show, I'm definitely never sleeping with you.
Who are lonely and they end up watching porn. And if you have a porn addiction or you have a problem with porn, you have a problem with yourself, because I guarantee if you were the kind of man you're supposed to be, you would have no time for that and you wouldn't need it. I can confirm that's absolutely not the case.
Yeah.
So the fact you even need porn shows there's a problem with you as a man, because if you were the kind of man you could be, and I genuinely believe that any man can become anything, then you'd have unlimited sexual options and you would have no interest in that. And I do want to make this clear to the world, because there's a bit of a misconception about my story. My father was in the military and then he left to become a professional chess player. He was a traveling chess player. You don't make money with that. My mother and father broke up at age 9. We moved to England purely because you get more help from the state. I was raised on welfare in Marsh Farm, which is the worst area of the worst town, Luton, with the highest crime rate. I went to a school with a 4% pass rate.
Hang on. Heidi is making a great point in the chat. Basically, Andrew Tate is saying, like, there's a problem with you because you like porn and you're not a real man if you like porn. But just in case you want some of that porn, I'm going to produce a metric fuck ton of that porn. And that's how I'm going to make my money. And I'm going to produce this thing that I think is so evil in the world and is the downfall of men. When remember, Tucker, I am the only person on the internet who just wants men to be men. And I just want them to be happy and I want them to be healthy. And I don't want men to watch porn, but but if men want to watch porn, I will have 75 OnlyFans girls that you can partake of, and you can send me hundreds of thousands of dollars. You can take out loans. You can sell your houses. Send all your money to me for the OnlyFans girls and for the porn. But it's really bad, and you're not a man if you consume that because you're just a cuck. And I just want men on the internet to be happy, and I'm the only one that can save men. Does that like he just wants fucking money. I don't know how much more clear this can be to people. I really don't know how much. Like it is not in dispute that Andrew Tate makes his money producing porn. Oh, I just think porn is terrible for humanity.
Mother household effectively. Started from absolutely nothing, became a kickboxing world champion.
Your mother was English?
English, correct. So I started at the absolute lowest echelon of life, and I would like to consider myself pretty somewhere near the top now. I've been through absolutely every stage. So when I say to men, you can become anything you want, and my answer to you is masculine excellence, there's no other answer. I can't tell you how to rig the game and cheat the game. If we're all racing a race and I have a Ferrari and you have a Nissan, I mean, sure, you can get a bit better at driving, but you're probably going to lose. You have to get a better character to play this game of life. So that's why I preach masculine excellence, because for many of the world's problems today, porn, sexual access, being respected by your peers, making sure that your wife's going to stay with you after the children are born for a very long time,
That's right.
Being happy, anything, it all comes down to who you are as a man. The only answer is masculine excellence. There's nothing you can do besides hard work,
masculine,
accept the trauma and pain and suffering, and work harder than everyone else around you worked. And that's why porn's a problem. So I will genuinely say to any man out there who finds himself loading up that website, go take a look in the mirror and realize why no one wants to fuck you.
How do you make your money, Andrew?
Fair.
How do you make your money,
I said this to guys before. If you were a girl with all the choices she has, would you choose you? Think about it. And if you're honest with yourself, a lot of these guys, if they look in the mirror and go, you know what? No, I wouldn't choose me. Work out why and do something about it. Absolute and utter self-accountability. This is something that's also missing. I take accountability for everything in my life. Even going to jail, although it was unfair, although it's a matrix attack, although it's garbage, it was my fault. I sat there and go, what did I do wrong? How can I learn from this? Where is my part to play in this? What did I do? Because my actions are what I have the most control over. I have self-accountability for everything. If a woman doesn't want to sleep with me, I don't sit and say, women are this way, society's that way. I just sit and say, okay, why? What can I change?
Because you're an asshole.
So any man who's loading up porn needs to go have a long conversation in the mirror and realize that he's not desirable or as desirable as he should be or could be. I come from absolutely nothing. I'm mixed race. My father was black and my mother's white. So statistically, mixed race, single household, single mother household, bad area. I ticked every box to end up in jail. I ended up in jail for the wrong reason.
You will end up in jail.
You fulfilled your destiny.
Can't escape statistics. I ticked every box to be a delinquent, and I refused to be one. I absolutely not refused to be a delinquent. I said, no, that's not who I want to be. I want to be a superhero. And I know the only way to be a superhero is to, one, suffer, like Batman did. His parents died. And two, work hard. What does your mother think? My mother's...
He just compared himself to Batman. Guys, if you think that Andrew Tate is a raging narcissist, please go ahead and mount that like button for me. If you're not yet convinced that Andrew Tate is a raging narcissist, I don't know what you're seeing that I'm not, but please let me know in the chat what you're seeing that I'm not, because this is one of those things where it's like, it's so obvious what's going on. And I quite literally do not understand the perspective of people who cannot see that Andrew Tate is a raging narcissist. And I genuinely mean this. If you don't think that he is a raging narcissist, please come into the chat and explain to me why we're seeing what we're seeing. Because he is so easy to see through. He's so easy to dissect. I can absolutely see why he blocked me on Twitter, because, you know, you can't have uppity women like me completely dissecting your psychology in front of your adoring simps, because some of them might get the wrong idea.
Exceptionally proud of me. She she still worries because mothers worry. But even when we were in jail, she said, well, I know you're both strong. So like, she knows she has men. She knows she has,
That's pretty great.
Yeah, of course. And I think that's what, I mean, I believe, especially also, I think a man has a duty to his last name. I think we carry the last name. We have a duty to our last name. I am a Tate. I am my father's son. The reason my father is discussed so heavily is because of my monumental success. I keep him alive via my success. I would love to think my son does the same thing. They will talk about my son in a way where they're so interested in his life path that I
Look at that photo.
And I live forever. So I have a duty.
Who has
to
a
Tate.
portrait of themselves in their house?
I must perform. And this is what I said to my mother on the phone. I'm a Tate. It's fine. Oh, but the conditions are bad. Yeah. That's life. And even as a man today, you're waking up, you want to load up a porn website. You should have respect for your last name.
You're edging the line. Well, as long as you get there eventually, it's going to be a long stream.
A lot of this comes down to the things we discussed at the very beginning. Self-respect, honor, dignity. Well, you have no dignity? Well, I have too much dignity for that shit. And a lot of these men have no dignity, no self-respect. And it's all an extension. It extends of why they're never going to be who they could be and also what they do to cope with that. And yeah, porn is a coping mechanism.
What do you think of women?
I think women are some of the most powerful people on the planet, firstly. A lot of the conversations we're having, most people don't understand that women are the gatekeepers and women are the ultimate judges. Women are the ultimate judges, especially of sexual access, right? So when I say that maybe 40% of the letters I got in jail were from women, just love letters. Perfume on them, kiss marks. The traditional masculine role is still respected and loved by so many women. If you were to ask the average woman on the street who hasn't lost her mind what she wants in a man, she would like to be financially provided for, physically protected.
You're telling me the average woman on the street was emailing you or was mailing you love letters in prison with fucking perfume and lipstick? Andrew, let me tell you something. I had a loved one in prison. I visited prison. I was around the women who have loved ones in prison. Like, my friend went to prison for a crime he didn't commit. It's a long story. I'm not going to tell it right now, but I was not. Let me just say this. I'm sure Andrew Tate doesn't think very much of me, because I am fat and have stupid hair and all this stuff. I am several notches above the average woman who would date someone in fucking prison. And I know that from direct experience. So you're telling me that perfectly well-adjusted women in the world are sending you fucking love letters with perfume and lipstick in prison? I actually had a loved one in prison and I never did that shit. Wow. Bullshit.
Protected. I love women. I think they are the most powerful and precious things on the planet. They give life. But I believe that when you love a woman, you should want to protect her and provide for her and take care of her. I don't believe you love a woman by wanting to do everything she says and cucking to her. I don't believe that because I love women, I should have no standards on what I expect in a woman. I don't think loving women is sitting there going, a woman can do whatever she wants to me and I put up with it. I don't think that's loving women at all. I think loving women is saying, I'm going to be the best man I can be. And the only way I'm going to be a good man is with a degree of standard. And I'm going to be the best man I can be for you. And when I say these things, I get attacked for being a misogynist. Because
well, how is that?
Well,
I think misogynist means somebody hates women.
This is exactly my point, Gloria. I am sure that there were people who sent Andrew Tate love letters in prison. There were people who sent Ted Bundy love letters in prison. There were people who sent Charles Manson love letters in prison. There were people who sent the Unabomber love letters in prison. But again, they're not normal people. There is a screw loose in you if you are sending someone a love letter in prison. If you have a friend that goes to prison or like a family member, that is like a different thing than you sending a stranger love letters with perfume and lipstick. Those are not healthy, well-adjusted women. Those would not be on the list of women that Andrew Tate would even bother himself with when he's not in prison for being an internet pimp. Yes, they are not the powerful women that Andrew Tate is talking about that's sending a stranger love letters in prison.
I have conversations with women who are, let's say I've done some podcasts with women who are very promiscuous. And I've explained to them that since the dawn of human time in every single society across the planet, promiscuity in females has been frowned upon.
Yes,
and yet
that's
you
true.
run a porn
It hasn't
website.
been frowned upon in men, but it has been in women. I explained
in a big way.
in a big way. In many parts of the world to this day, you can't get married if you're not a virgin. I'm not saying all women should be virgins. I was explaining to her that female promiscuity has always been hated in every holy book. It's disliked. You've bought into this new thing.
But that's just the Matrix, Andrew. That's just the Matrix. That is the Matrix that is programming you to believe that women should be virgins. That is the Matrix that is programmed you and indoctrinated you into this ideology and constantly reinforces this ideology that women should not enjoy sex just as much as men. How come that isn't the Matrix, but everything else is the Matrix? But that's not the Matrix. That one part that women must be virgins. That's totally true. Not the Matrix at all. It's just everything else that's the Matrix. Okay.
The last 10 years, and you seem to think it's empowering. And I would argue that it's not empowering. And I sat there and had a conversation with this promiscuous woman, and I said to her that she is doing herself a disservice, and she's dishonoring herself, and she's never going to be happy or fulfilled jumping from bed to bed. And I was told that this makes me misogynistic because women are empowered and they can make whatever choices they want.
No, it makes you a hypocrite because you literally make your money on OnlyFans.
300 men is somehow changed mentally, and her ability to bond and love a man has been affected by that.
But it is. That's true.
Well, unfortunately, you're going to end up in a Romanian jail cell for being misogynist.
No, I mean, I love women, and so I've seen it, and that is true what you said.
The thing that's interesting is that women intrinsically understand this.
Yes.
Because if you see a woman dislike another woman, what's the first name she calls her? Slut. The first thing a girl says to a girl she doesn't like. It's the biggest insult that comes to her mind is that she's promiscuous.
I call her
right?
a cunt, actually.
So it's interesting, but I've been called a misogynist for that. And then I've been on the internet for a long time. I've made some jokes. I've made some videos, and people don't understand satire or comedy. There's one that they keep repeating. I made a joke. Next to my bed, I had a Glock, like many people do. And then I had a knife next to my bed. And there was a comedic skit where it said, "The girl caught me cheating." And she picked up the knife. And I slapped it out of her hand and said, "You still love me?" And they cut the bit out where I talked about the girl attacking me with the knife. They just took the bit where I say, "Slap the knife out of her hand. You're the boss." Da-da-da. And he's a misogynist. He's a misogynist. And it's just taken out of context. And that's another thing that's happened to me. And I am aware of this. And like I said, I take absolute self-accountability. But the way you make jokes and make videos when you get 100 views is very different than the way you would make a joke or make a video when you get millions of views. And when they're trying their best to look at a 4-hour video and find 3 seconds. I'll give you an example of it where it hurt me very recently. I did a podcast where I was discussing corruption. I discussed which country I believe is the most corrupt country in the world. They start a lot of wars. And the answer to that by the person I was discussing it with is, well, you live in Romania. Romania is corrupt. I said, Romania is corrupt, correct. But I don't think there's certainly corruption, but they don't start monumental wars which end up in millions of deaths. I would argue that their corruption, because a policeman stops me and I can bribe my way out of a parking ticket or a speeding ticket, is far less destructive. So we discussed this at length for hours. They cut out the bit where I said Romania is corrupt and showed it to the judge. That kept me in jail. Ooh. Yeah. So, and that's my problem in a nutshell. Long format content. People will find a little bit, edit it up, and try and attack me with it. And that's where this whole misogynistic things come from. It's either from me arguing with promiscuous women on podcasts designed for promiscuous women to argue their point, and I destroy them so flawlessly that I'm a bad person, or something taken out of context. And it's insane because, like I said, the amount of support I get from women is actually monumental. The amount of mothers who write to me and say that their son's doing better than ever. The amount of women who write to me and say that their boyfriend's doing better than ever. The amount of women who love me and just want to meet me. This idea that I'm hated by women is probably the biggest lie about this whole story. I don't want to brag, but I can assure the world that's absolutely not true. I had thousands of letters of support from women. In fact, there was one girl, never met her. She would play love songs from her car outside the jail.
Bullshit.
So she put the music on and play love songs.
Shit.
And I managed to tweet out via my cousin the songs I wanted to listen to. White Snake, Is This Love? And she and she'd play them for me. Never met her. Don't know who she is.
So you're in a Romanian.
Listen, I don't know how prisons work in Romania, but I do know how at least one prison works in the United States. And there ain't no fucking universe in which you're gonna roll up to the prison and play songs on your car radio and anyone is going to hear anything, because I mean, again, I don't know how prisons work in Romania, maybe it's different, but in the prison that I visited my friend in, you roll up, you have to park your car way the fuck away from the building because they don't want, like, you know, cars to be close to the building for like reasons. Then you walk into the administrative building and then you have to get all your stuff processed and everything. And then you leave the administrative building and you walk again into another building in which the prisoners are in, and it's way far the fuck away from where any car radio is going to be heard, and there ain't no windows and you can't hear shit. There is no way in this universe what Andrew Tate is saying right now actually happened. I'm sorry. No. This is not real.
Prison cell requesting White Snake on the radio in the car outside.
Correct. And some girl would pull up and put
kind of a surreal moment.
Put her speakers on full and play me my love songs for a good like 3 or 4 minutes before the police would come and make her move. I got a song a day. But yeah, this idea that I'm universally hated by women is insanity. That's not true.
So you said you're a mixed race. Your dad was black. Your mom was white English. What do you make of the race conversation in the United States?
I think it's deliberately, they're trying to put fuel on the fire and they're deliberately trying to accelerate division. This is what I believe. I think that if a black billionaire and a white billionaire meet somewhere, I don't think there's much conversation about race. I don't think I don't think there's any racism.
No.
Interesting. No?
They're not that interested in the topic, actually.
They don't care.
Right.
But amongst the lower echelons of the populace, they seem very interested in trying to turn us all on each other.
Yes.
I wonder why that is. And I wonder why they deliberately make laws. And
he keeps looking straight into the camera, and it's really disconcerting to me that he keeps looking straight. Like, okay,
I have my own theories.
So how this is set up is, so there are cameras that are like angled at them, right? He's supposed to be looking at Tucker, and the camera's getting like his face when it's angled because it's off-putting when someone looks directly into the camera. What Andrew Tate keeps doing is he keeps turning from Tucker to look directly into the camera. And I don't know why he's doing it. If anyone has any thoughts in the chat, let me know. But it's just like, it's really kind of like, it's unnerving. Does anyone else feel unnerved when he does that?
I think what certain people in the world would be most afraid of is the white people of a certain economic class and the black people of a certain economic class shaking hands and saying, this is bullshit. I think that would be very intimidating for them. So it's certainly accelerated. And it's also very interesting because as a mixed race person, I will also sit and state, I don't look particularly black. Most people can't guess where I'm from. I've had more discrimination against me for being a straight male than I've ever had for my skin color. I've had more people look at me or have problems with me purely because of my sexual orientation and my generally masculine essence than I've ever had anybody say anything about my skin color ever. And I'll also say, if somebody has a real problem with my skin color, who cares? If someone's that ignorant, who gives a shit? Like, it's also, I do find it amazing they managed to psyop people into being so brutally offended by it. If someone were to come up to me and say, you're not white, I say, correct. Have a nice day. Who cares? It's amazing how they've got everyone wrapped up in this. But yeah, it's certainly accelerated. Another thing that's very interesting about it, especially in America, a lot of Americans
that's a really good point, Yeti. Great point.
I feel like world history.
Yeah, I've noticed.
You know, they're like, oh, slavery, slavery, slavery. Slavery was everywhere. Every country had slaves. Arabs had slaves, Chinese had slaves, Aztecs had slaves. Everybody had slaves.
The American Indians had slaves.
Everybody did. Correct. And they're like, oh, we've been enslaved. Everyone was enslaved. Unfortunately, the world wasn't such a nice place, right? And there's been ethnic divisions in every single country on earth since the dawn of time. There still is in many countries in the world today. They believe this is a uniquely American issue. And I would strongly argue that one, it's completely and utterly not. And two, I think that if you are black, white, Asian, I think if you stand up, self-respect, work hard, try your best, turn up on time, firm handshake, don't make excuses for anything, don't look for an easy way out, no matter what your skin color is, in America or England or any other Western nation, I think you can be extremely successful. I don't think anything's stopping you.
That's not the message you get from, say, Kamala Harris, who's also mixed race. Her dad was Jamaican, her mom was Indian.
Yeah.
But race is really at the center of her identity and her politics. What do you make of, say, Kamala Harris?
Well, let's look at why they purport the idea that depression is so powerful and that you can just catch it from the sky and now you're permanently depressed no matter what happens to you and there's nothing you can do about it and you can't improve your life and you can't be a better person, right? It's that self-limiting belief. I think by also pushing this racism argument, it's also very much the same thing. I think if you adopt that mindset, if you wake up and you're a particular color, you're purple, and you believe purple people can't make it, what's your chance of making it? Zero.
Yeah.
Right? So that's what's so destructive about it. This is what I'll even argue when I argue this point with people and they try and say, oh, but this happens. And they pull out these statistics and all this garbage from the Matrix. I say, listen, even if the world's racist against purple people, the best thing you can do is be such an exceptional purple person that they need you and they need you. The only answer is hard work. The only answer is self-accountability, masculine essence, honor, dignity, making your ancestors proud of you because you hold the same last name as them. The answer is the same regardless anyway. But when people like Kamala are pushing this racism agenda, they're trying to say to people effectively, you'll never be anything and you don't stand a chance of ever being anything. And I think that makes people who aren't anything feel a little bit better about themselves. It's cope. And that's the only fans she has left are losers who she's told it's okay to be a loser because there's no way you could have not been a loser. And I will argue you could have been something a lot more than that. And you shouldn't listen to anybody who tells you you're not going to be a loser. If someone were to come to me and say, Andrew, you're mixed race, you're from a single mother household, you're never going to be rich. I'll say, watch me. I don't believe you. I don't believe you. Who are you? So everything she's saying is one, wrong. Two, it's destructive to believe in. Three, I think it's her last hope at having any kind of fan at all because she's largely incompetent. I don't think I've ever heard her put a compendious, coherent sentence together. And perhaps also, maybe that's the reason why she leans so heavily on race, because she's not impressive or competent. So she can say, oh, but I'm this color and I did it, instead of actually talking about how good of a job she's doing. Because if you have to discuss that part of her career or that part of her current life path, I think she'd be in a lot of trouble.
I want to show you video of Joe Biden's challenger for the Democratic primary, Robert F. Kennedy.
Why is Andrew Tate being asked about these things? Oh my God. Seriously? Seriously? Seriously. This is what Tucker Carlson thinks is important. Is RFK can bench press. And I mean, you know, there is something to be said for the fact that Joe Biden can barely walk and is falling asleep in his office. But is the antidote to that, like, he can do bench press? Guys, he can do bench presses. Is this seriously what gets conservatives off now? Like, is this why they're overlooking the fact that RFK is blatantly going to come for their guns? He can do bench presses, guys. Don't worry. He's not going to come for our guns. He can do bench presses. Bro.
Run it. Let's go. Up.
What do you think of him?
I think a strong body is a strong mind. I don't think there's anything wrong with a man exercising up until the age he dies. Why wouldn't he? I think that the bottom line of masculinity since the dawn of human time has been a propensity and a capability for violence. I think that's what makes a man a man. I don't see any possible negative connotation with being in good physical shape. I think that's a fantastic way to show discipline, which is very important, and any man who's important, especially a world leader. In fact, I love the idea of an elected world leader being in fantastic physical shape. I think it shows that they're a motivated, disciplined person, and I have a lot of respect for him for that. And I think that in the military, we make it mandatory, right, to be in fantastic physical condition.
Yes.
So why wouldn't we have it mandatory for people who are in charge of the entire world? I think it's fantastic.
The president of the United States seems to be failing physically. What, as you look back at the country whose passport you hold, at the president, what's your reaction?
Well, sometimes, and it's not very often, I consider myself ignorant, but I feel like there must be some magic I missed, because wasn't he the most voted for president in history?
Oh yeah, billions of votes.
Yeah, there must be some magic I just can't detect, Tucker. I don't want to.
More than Barack Obama, 81 million votes.
It's insane. And I mean, Barack, yeah, sure, he was very intelligent, articulate.
Yep.
He was concise and compendious with his ideas. He could make you understand how he thinks.
Yes.
But Joe must be better in some way. I can't seem to see how, and I guess the fault is with me. I don't know what to say about that one.
It's one of those lies that's so
and again,
ridiculous.
This is like another instance where Andrew Tate doesn't actually have anything of substance to say, because why the fuck are we asking an internet pimp about geo-global fucking politics? And so what Andrew Tate defaults to, again, because his whole goal here is to ingratiate a conservative, like right-leaning, alt-right, whatever audience to him so that they simp for him on the internet and open their wallets and give him money. What did he default to? Well, Tucker, I just don't know about that election. I just don't know. I don't know. How is it possible that Joe Biden got 81 million votes? And I think it's the machine, Tucker. I think it's the Matrix that's just out to get all of us. And we are all but poor victims in the world. He defaults to the talking points that conservatives just fucking love to hear and lap up with a spoon every single time. Because it's all a show and he doesn't care about any of this. What do I need to say to get conservative and alt-right men to open up their wallets and give me all their money?
Okay. Okay. He got more votes than Barack Obama. Shut up, he did. Shut up. Excuse me. I want to get your take. This is sort of small ball, but it I think tells you something about a larger trend in the United States. This is a state senator from the state of Wisconsin in a public hearing recently saying, in a discussion on a crime bill, fuck the suburbs. Here she is.
Fuck the suburbs, because they don't know a goddamn thing about how life is in the city.
In Milwaukee?
What is that? There's a hostility there. Where does that come from?
That comes from being a perpetual victim. That comes from being told that everything that's happening to her is not her fault, and she has no self-accountability. Even though she's managed to become a senator, somehow she's still oppressed. And that means that everyone else who looks like her is also completely and utterly oppressed. And anybody who has a slightly better life in any way is, by extension, a bad person.
He's giggling like a schoolgirl.
Yes. And that's where the hate comes from. The division's put there by
because he's flirting with Andrew Tate.
People in charge of the world, convincing you that you have no control at all over your own life. And that's why she's so resentful towards people who have done well in life, not even as well as her. Right. I would also argue, perhaps I'm incorrect, that she probably lives in a suburb.
Of course she does.
So she's a hypocrite on top of that.
Yeah.
But hypocrites are, the fantastic thing about being a hypocrite is if you're a hypocrite with a little bit of power or influence, you're allowed to be a hypocrite because you're spreading information on the larger problem. In fact, this is actually interesting. One of my funnest things, I'm going to announce this here on your show for everyone to know. This is a world exclusive.
Oh.
I want to become a climate change activist. Because when I was younger, people would say, what do you want to be when you grow up? Do you want to be a fireman? Do you want to be Batman, et cetera? And I wasn't sure what would really make me happy. But now I'm ultra wealthy and I fly around on private jets all the time.
Where do you make your money, Andrew?
Now is the time for me to become one of those hypocritical climate change.
Where do you make your money?
It's going to be super fun.
How
as your carbon footprint grows, your concern about carbon footprints grows.
Absolutely. Eat the bugs. Sell your car. How dare you eat meat? On my jet, of course, I have meat, but I'm allowed to be a hypocrite because I'm spreading awareness for the overall problem.
It's for the greater good.
It's for the greater good. I have to get to the climate change activist meetings. So,
which happened to be in Switzerland, I noticed.
of course. So, although I'm flying on, well, before this arrest.
They're never in New Jersey.
Never.
Oh,
So
God.
before this
Tucker
arrest,
is
I was on about 3 or 4
so
jets a
the
week.
bottom.
But
He is
every
so
single
the
time I was
bottom,
flying on
Yasmin,
my
you're
private plane,
right.
I was extremely concerned about the carbon footprint.
Of course you were.
And so I am now a climate change activist. I just want to let the whole world know. Because once you get to a certain level of power of influence, you're absolutely not really allowed to be a complete hypocrite. So you're allowed to live in the suburb and then tell everyone, fuck the suburbs, and pretend that you're oppressed when you're a senator of the most powerful nation on the planet. Because it's a logic fail on every level.
So one of the human activities has got to produce the greatest carbon footprint is, I would think, war, right?
I would think so.
Diesel-powered machines, munitions going off. So I was a little bit surprised to see Greta Thunberg with Zelensky this morning.
What's interesting to me is this. Firstly, I would never kill myself. Secondly,
Oh my God.
imagine these people are so detached from reality. Imagine going, you know what we need to do? Brainwave. We need to drum up support for this garbage. Let's take the most loved woman, Greta, and the most loved man, Zelensky, and let's make them meet. Think about the PR. Let's bring a camera. And imagine people sitting around a table going, that's great. That's going to really make people support this. Who gives a fuck? I don't want to swear. I'm sorry, but some young girl turns up to a war zone who has nothing. Why is she there? What are they going to talk about?
I don't know.
But what's their conversation?
I think she only yells. I don't think she does talk.
I don't understand. Is she going to talk about how the childhood has been stolen from all those million Ukrainian men who've been blown to pieces? Like she talks about childhood being stolen because we drive, cars. I don't think she is. I don't think she's going to mention that. No. Is it just a big PR opportunity? Like what PR team came up with this concoction and thought this'll keep them on side? It's mind bending to me. Who even thought this was a good idea? It's crazy.
But of course somebody did.
Somebody thought it was a fantastic idea.
Have you ever met Greta Thunberg?
No, but me and her have had some internet arguments.
I think you went to prison for it, right?
Yeah, correct. Which is amazing because I'm a climate change activist. So I'm on her team. I was in Sweden during COVID. So we could have met. She didn't want to hang out with me,
landed him in prison. I forgot about
and then
that.
Now I'm flying around on my jet everywhere, spreading news about climate change. Same thing. Like in my Bugatti, obviously it's got a big engine. I make sure to talk about climate change out the window as I drive. But I'm on her side. She doesn't seem to be very
You yell at the serfs as you pass about climate change?
Yeah, don't eat meat. Eat the bugs. What's wrong with you people? You don't care about the earth? Like if you don't start caring about climate change, all those politicians with beachfront property are going to lose their houses.
Yes.
And they're very concerned about climate change, which is why they bought their houses on the beachfront so they can be the first to let you know it's coming. The early warning system, right? They're very concerned. That's why they want to be right there on the beach. Quite honorable if you think about it.
Kind of on the front lines of the climate crisis.
Absolutely. Lead from the front.
So good.
But one more point about this. Sorry to go on and on.
No, I love it.
But when I say these things, people, you don't care about the environment. And I try and explain to them, I love nature. You love hunting, fishing. You love nature. I love nature.
Passionately.
The problem with all of these things is not that I don't like nature. The problem is that nearly any issue which appears to be virtuous on the planet today is Trojan horsed with garbage. That's the problem. I have no problem with fixing or maintaining or preserving nature. I have a problem with them telling me I have to maintain nature, them Trojan horsing my bankruptcy into the middle of it, knowing that nature won't be fixed, then telling me it's about nature and telling me I should agree with it. That's my problem. There's nothing left on the planet, no issue, which isn't Trojan horsed with absolute garbage.
Yeah.
And if you're going to sit there and tell me that I need to give more money to the government to stop the sun from being hot, I'm going to argue with you that I'd rather keep my money. Thank you very much.
Yes.
So this is the problem with all these issues. It's nearly anything. When I argue against them, people are like, you don't care about the issue. I do. But you're not smart enough to understand that the legislation around this issue is so large, it hasn't even been read by most of the people voting for it.
Yeah.
And there's something in the middle of it, which is going to damage every single person's life, which has nothing at all to do with the issue itself. And most people don't understand that.
They co-opt people's best instincts, their love of nature, which is a virtue, of course.
Yep.
Their love of their neighbors during COVID. Don't you care about your neighbors?
Oh,
Well,
completely.
Of course you do. And your grandparents? I revere my grandparents.
Of course. And you're a bad person if you resist. I was a terrible person for going to Sweden. You're a very bad person. You don't care about anyone else. And that's how they do. It's weaponized virtue. And my opposers, every single virtuous thing that comes out of their mouth is never from a place of virtue. It's from a place of hate.
Yes.
It's weaponized. And also, and I don't talk about this very often, but people can go right now to Tate pledge.
Exactly.
I donate $25 million a year to feeding children in war-torn countries, especially in the Islamic world, because that's where a lot of the war is.
What?
Nobody ever mentions that.
You donate $25 million a year to feeding children in war-torn countries? Is he being serious or is he being sarcastic? I can't tell, because I know some of this stuff is like him being sarcastic and having dry humor, but was that like a serious statement? Does he actually expect people to believe that? Maybe I just wasn't paying attention because I was distracted by robot here saying he's like the Fox News dude's bro's wet dream. He embodies everything the right pisses off the left in one package. It's like they made him in a lab somewhere. You donate. Hang on, I just need to rewind that little bit again because I need to listen to that again.
Well, of course you do. And your grandparents? I revere my grandparents.
Of course. And you're a bad person if you resist. I was a terrible person for going to Sweden. You're a very bad person. You don't care about anyone else. And that's how they do. It's weaponized virtue. And my opposers, every single virtuous thing that comes out of their mouth is never from a place of virtue. It's from a place of hate.
Yes.
It's weaponized. And also, and I don't talk about this very often, but people can go right now to tatepledge.com. I donate $25 million a year to feeding children in war-torn countries.
You donate. This is a serious thing. Tatepledge.com. I want the fucking receipts. Hang on. I want the actual receipts, Andrew. I don't want any fucking, oh, look at all these things that we donated. I'm not seeing receipts here. Maybe I'll have to look around a little bit to find the receipts specifically. You expect us to believe that you personally donate $25 million. What's your business, Andrew? Where are you getting the money, Andrew? Where does the money come from? Is that $25 million in Bitcoin a year? Where are you getting it? But Tucker Carlson is not going to ask this question. It is not fucking this. I'm sorry. If you believe that Andrew Tate is seriously donating $25 million a year to whatever cause he pretends to be supporting, I just question your discernment. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he definitely doesn't produce porn on the internet and pimp women and I'll do all this shit where, even though there's video of him actually admitting what he's doing, maybe he's just teaching men how to go to the gym and that gives him enough money where he can donate $25 million a year and fly around on private jets and live in expensive houses and buy all the like, how much money do we think Andrew Tate is making in a year? Are we talking like $500 million? Maybe to maintain his lifestyle. Maybe he can maintain it for $100 million. I'm just saying that people should maybe practice some discernment and maybe Tucker Carlson should ask Andrew Tate, how are you making your money, Andrew?
Especially in the Islamic world, because that's where a lot of the war is. Nobody ever mentions that, ever. Nobody mentions any of the charitable work I do. Nobody mentions any of the lives I save. Nobody mentions any of the people who support me. They don't mention anything at all. They just come along and say, you're a bad person. And I say, well, if I'm a bad person, let's talk about the things you've done to genuinely benefit humanity, besides sit on Twitter and talk shit. Have you ever done anything for anybody, ever? Are you capable of doing anything. Because the things that make me a bad person, right? You don't like me for my principles and the fact I stand up for myself and the fact I have parameters and I say no, everything you hate about me. Those are the things that allow me to even do good in the world. If I was like you, mush, goo, I couldn't even help anyone. If you had to help someone today, how could you even do it? You're broke and you're lazy and you're stupid. You can't even enlighten anybody. You can just spread hate. How is that helping the world? These people are a net negative, genuinely. And that's what's so crazy about being attacked for your morality, like I'm being now. And when you're a good person in general, they attack your morality because the people who are attacking you are absolutely and utterly immoral. The ultimate hypocriticism. Ultimate. Even more than my private jet climate change stance. So it's certainly unique. I do like to believe, though, we're entering a new stage of consciousness. I do like to believe, at least from 10 to 15 years ago, more people are, I think COVID woke some people up. I do like to believe the MSM credibility is tanking in real time. Trump helped massively. Fake news. 2 words. Before Trump, when did you ever hear fake news? I didn't really hear it that often.
No.
Fake news, fake news, fake news. And he did a fantastic job of that, and he's starting to wake people up. So I'd like to believe there's a degree of us winning, but I just want to make it very clear to the people who attack me and the people who attack anybody who stands up for what they believe in, a lot of their virtue signaling is just hate peddling.
Yes,
and when
we're
they
just hate
can't call
peddling.
you unsuccessful and they can't
We're
call
just
you
hate
stupid,
peddling
they have to
by
find
calling
a
you
way
on
to
your
hurt you, and
bullshit.
the only way they can do that is to say you're a bad person.
I've noticed. Yes, I have. So here's Joe Biden expressing his concern about how Putin is doing in the war in Iraq.
Interesting.
It's hard to tell, but he's clearly losing the war in Iraq. He's losing the war at home. And he has become a bit of a pariah around the world.
Do you think Putin is losing the war in Iraq?
I don't think he's losing the war in Iraq. I don't think he's fighting a war in Iraq.
Okay.
He also says he's losing the war at home. I don't think he's fighting in Russia. And I'm also not sure he's losing. So it's a pretty interesting statement on many levels. It's scary. You know, it's a joke, but it's scary. Because I would never kill myself, but I think the reason he was put into office is because he's incompetent.
Yes.
Because that makes him easy to control and influence. That's what's most scary. It's not scary that he's become incompetent in office. It's that they looked at him and goes, that's who we need. That guy. That's what's most scary to me.
Does it surprise you that the weakest president is also the most destructive?
Weak men are always destructive because hurt people hurt people.
Yeah.
I don't know. I heard someone said that to me a long time ago. Hurt people hurt people. They were talking about a relationship. And I said, that's true. If your heart's been broken, you're probably going to be a bit of an asshole and break someone's heart. Hurt people hurt people. And then I thought, well, if you're a weak man and you're going through life and you don't have the strength and resilience to resist the trials and tribulations of being a man, and you're constantly hurt by everything, and you're constantly upset and depressed and sad because you're weak, how could you possibly do good? Hurt people, right? To do good, you have to be a good person to begin with. And to be a good person, you're virtuous and you've gone through a lot of things that made you strong. This is what's mind-bending to me, that the idea that strong men are somehow bad. And it's the ultimate hypocrisy, because as soon as something happens, especially physically, as soon as a liberal is attacked, they call the police. Defund the police. Call the police. Don't be masculine. Police officer, please. They want a big, strong man with a gun. Guns are bad. They want him to have one, right? So the ultimate hypocrisy on every level is absolutely and utterly insane. At the base realities of humanity, the absolute base reality, strength in men is respected and wanted. And I think that the closer you get to unfortunate circumstance, the closer you get to reality. They go hand in hand. And then everyone's looking for the strong men. So strong men should always lead, I believe. And for a longest period of human time, that's how society functioned. The strongest men led. But in the Western world now, that doesn't seem to be the case anymore. And weak men are emotionally...
Hang on. I made this point yesterday, and Andrew, I'm going to pick on you a little bit, but it's not personal. I promise. I'm not picking on you personally. I don't know who you, it's all good, man. But I'm going to say this. This is a thing that people on the right do where they're like, but I like his message. Okay. Can't you find someone that's not a toxic, raging, lying, grifting narcissist that also has the same message? Because there are a lot of people out there saying the exact same good things that Andrew Tate is saying. And I'm not saying he never says anything good, because he does. He knows his talking points. He knows what he has to say in order to get people to like him so that they open their wallets and give him money. But is it possible that, like, we can find role models that also say good things, that are not ragingly toxic, narcissistic, grifting assholes that are beating the shit out of women on video? Like, is that, am I asking too much? I really don't think I am. And I really hate it when people on the right do this. We're like, but I like his talking points, and therefore he must be good and he must not be a narcissist. No, he is a narcissist. He doesn't care about you. He's only saying the things you want to hear so that he can make money. That's it. It's so obvious. Can we just find better role models? That's all. That's all.
Led. They're not particularly stoic. They're impulsive. And I would say that the most heinous acts, perhaps, that happen in modern society today are purported and committed by weak men. I don't think a school shooter is a strong man. I think it's a weak man. I think it's a man who's been picked on, got butthurt, is upset. Girls don't like him, never learned any emotional control. He's the kind of person who does exactly what the TV tells him to do. Act out your feelings. Cry when you want to cry. Well, now he's angry. So now what? You told him to act out his feelings. What do you expect him to do? I think that weak men do the worst things. I think weak men hurt women. I think weak men rob stores because they don't want to wake up and work hard and go to work and do it the honorable way. It's a weak man who goes and...
Andrew, I agree. I think when you were on video beating the shit out of women who weren't doing what you wanted them to do, and if people don't know what I'm talking about, we watched this in part 1. I also posted a clip of it earlier today. I think that when you were beating the shit out of women because they weren't bending to your will and doing what you wanted them to do, that was a sign that you are indeed a very weak man, Andrew.
Steals. It's a weak man who beats the shit out of a girl. It's a weak man who shoots up a school. This is all weak men stuff. And society as a whole is telling men to be weaker and weaker, saying it's somehow the solution to everything, because being a man is toxically masculine. Being a strong man is bad. It's toxically masculine. To be a good man, you have to be a very weak one. Well, look at the most heinous acts that are committed in society. Show me a strong, honorable, virtuous man of principle who's doing any of this stuff.
So weak men commit the atrocities in this world.
Absolutely they do. And it's weak men who also attack anybody of virtue, because I think when you're weak, you're intrinsically unhappy. Yeah. I don't think as a man you can be happy if you're weak. I think happiness and strength go hand in hand.
Yes.
I think that's how we're supposed to be, right? Even strength of mind, strength of conviction, strength of something. If you're weak, you're going to be miserable. So I do find satisfaction in the fact that most of the men who truly dislike me are miserable and weak. And also, like I said earlier about women being gatekeepers, women are fantastic. Women are they're like a barometer for society. I would say you can measure the strength of a society or the virtue of a society or how decayed a society is largely by the actions of many women. I'd like to argue that point. I can argue that point in many different ways. But women really want their man to be strong.
Of course.
They will punish you for being weak. And I'm not saying you can never cry to your woman. I'm not saying you can never open up to your woman. But there's going to become a time where she expects you to just be capable. There's a problem. And even if you don't know how to fix it, your job as a man is to say, I'll handle it. Even if you have no money and no hope. And to go find a way to fix the problem. If you're weak and go, I don't know, she becomes very resentful towards you. And she'll punish you for that weakness. And I think what she's trying to do on an evolutionary standard is inspire you to man up, because it's your job to protect her, isn't it? Of course. So if she sees you and looks at you and doesn't see you as a man who can protect her, she can't respect you.
So every survey of female happiness in the West shows just a straight decline since about 1970 till now. Women are becoming less happy
because they have jobs. They have jobs and they're going to college.
How can you be happy when all the men around you aren't men, right? We are the most beautiful union that God has possibly created on the planet. A feminine woman and a masculine man. It's the most beautiful union that can possibly exist. It raises children the best. Both parties are happier. Both parties gain. It's a net positive for everybody. There's no negative. There's no downside. But if you destroy one side of the equation, then the other side is going to be completely and utterly miserable and unhappy. How as a woman can you be happy if you can't find a man who you believe can protect you, provide for you, sticks up for you, has morals, has principles? There's none of those men left. So then what they do is just go from man to man trying to find it. And by the time they've been through enough men to maybe find someone semi-close to it, they've been through too many men to ever be happy. And then you have the absolute destruction of Western society. We talk about why men don't get married anymore. I can tell you why I wouldn't want to get married in America. I don't see the point in being married to a woman who's had so many partners before me that she can't properly pair bond with me, and then giving her the opportunity to financially
You don't
destroy
bond
me.
with anyone, Andrew.
I think that would be a bad chess move. And I do.
For the record, he is not capable of love. He is not capable of empathy. He is not capable of compassion. He is not capable of bonding with anyone. He will discard any woman in his life if he finds it convenient to discard her or to put her on the shelf or to go back and get her later when he decides that he needs her again for money or more OnlyFans or whatever the fuck it happens to be. But to say, like, I just need a woman who can bond with me. No, you don't know how to love, Andrew. You are a narcissist. You are incapable of bonding with anyone. You're incapable of human empathy. You're incapable of experiencing normal human emotion. The only thing that you know how to do is manipulate people so that they reinforce your self-construct, and then you destroy them so that they can continue to feed your self-construct, and then you discard them when you're damn well good and ready.
Do believe in marriage. I think society would be better if everyone was married. I'm saying that if you're living in a immoral society,
Then why is
being
he
a moral
married?
person, if you're not careful about it, you can get wrecked. If the game is rigged, you have to be very careful if you play it. So how do we encourage men to get married? Well, they need to be worth marrying, but so do the women, right? So everything's decaying on both sides. Everything's spiraling. One of the reasons I also got called misogynistic, and I'll say it here, I argue the point that for the longest period of human time, evolutionarily, women had to adopt and find a way to take the ethos of an opposing tribe perhaps quicker than a man could because of war. If the man would come and if the men would fight and a tribe lost and the women survived, they had to change how they thought to fit in with the new tribe to survive.
Yeah, because they'd be carried off.
Because they'd be carried off.
Of course.
Like the French women were sleeping with Nazis towards the end of it. Towards the end of Paris occupation, all the French women were sleeping with Nazis. When the Nazis got kicked out, the French women had all their heads shaved because they got caught hanging around with German soldiers. The German soldiers killed their husband. 3 years later, they need to eat. So the German soldiers have a wage. He's handsome. It's amazing how quickly they can adapt. And that's for their own survival. That's fantastic. But then if you extrapolate out and you understand that to be true, then you also understand that women are more susceptible to programming to a degree. I got called misogynistic by saying that if you...
I'm going to bet you that there are a lot of women that have called Andrew Tate out on his bullshit. And there's a lot of women he's manipulated too, because there are weak women out there that will fall for this stuff for any number of reasons, because they're empathic, because they think they can change him, they think they can reform him, they want his money, whatever it might be. But I'm going to bet you there are a lot of women out there that have also called Andrew Tate out on his bullshit. And I bet you when he encounters one of them, he runs away like the little bitch that he is, which is why he blocked someone like me who is really inconsequential and never even interacted with his Twitter. I quite literally never interacted with Andrew Tate on Twitter. Never tweeted at him. Never said anything about him. Why is he blocking little scary me? I'm just saying.
100 men and 100 women down in front of propaganda. I believe that women are more likely to believe a lot of that. I think a lot of liberals are female. They're more emotional. And it's easier to convince them of something if you use an emotionally led argument, right? So if by extension you now have women who are emotionally led, who are being convinced and their logic is failing because they're being tricked with an emotionally led argument, and the man they're meeting has no principle and no honor, and he can't resist that. She's in charge of the house. Well, now she's telling the man what to do, right? If I would have come home during COVID and my woman said, you need to wear a mask, I'd say, no, I don't. End of conversation. But if I was a simp, you need to wear a mask. Okay, baby. So, all right. So the women are also largely in charge of the psyop, because the men are so desperate to get any kind of connection with a real person and avoid the porn screen. And then these women are being
What?
controlled by the mass media as a whole.
What?
I say this to
Wait.
I have children. I don't talk-
Wait. So Andrew Tate's theory is seriously that women rule the world because women are much more susceptible to manipulation than men are, and they rule the world, and men allow women to rule the world because men are afraid of being stuck with porn for the rest of their lives, and so they allow women to tell them what to do, and these women who are easily influenced by some mystical force that is apparently not man or woman, but the women are just so easy to manipulate that they buy into everything that the Matrix, it must be the Matrix, it's the Matrix, guys, I apologize. The Matrix is manipulating the women who are so susceptible, and then the women have the men so fucking whipped because men are so afraid of watching porn and being relegated to porn that they just do whatever women tell them. Yep, that makes complete sense to me. Okay, sure, whatever.
about it often. But I said to the mothers of my children, I say, look, either we program their minds or society does.
Oh, so your
you believe
answer
in?
is that you need to
Everyone is being
brainwash
programmed
women.
by
Oh,
somebody,
okay.
somebody and
Okay.
something. Me, you, everybody. We're all programmed by someone to see.
So his answer to all of this is that it is his job to brainwash women, which he definitely does not do to support his OnlyFans porn business when he emotionally manipulates the women that he specifically targets and then goes out and fucks and gets them to fall in love with him and then gives them alcohol and has other women from his OnlyFans porn business come in and talk to them about how great doing OnlyFans is and how comfortable they're going to be. And then he gives them alcohol, and he talked about all this yesterday on the other stream. And then he gives them alcohol so that they feel more comfortable doing OnlyFans, and then they end up in his OnlyFans. Like it's like he would have no experience at all with like brainwashing women as part of his OnlyFans business, would he?
And think you're above programming is incorrect. What you have to do is sit and say, does the person who's programming genuinely have my best interests at heart? What do they want me to
That
believe?
is a
Why do they
great
want me to believe
question,
it?
Andrew.
What happens if I believe what they want
The
me to believe?
women who are
Where
doing
does
your
this lead?
OnlyFans should probably
That's
ask
all we can
themselves
do. We're all
that.
programmed. We're all the sum of the 5 people we spend the most time with.
Right.
Right? So if you have women with no father, no strong masculine influence, who's programming them? The Kardashians and the news? The internet?
The
Porn
man's
stars?
job is to program the woman.
What kind of woman's that going to be? And then if a man finally ends up with her and he has no backbone, what kind of man's he going to be? I don't want to comment on these things because I don't want to make personal enemies of people I don't know. There's a guy called Adam22. Once again, I have no idea who this man is. I just saw on Twitter yesterday that he was with a porn star who'd never done a male scene. They got married, and like a week after their marriage, she did her first male scene with some random dude. And he's on a podcast defending it.
Did his wife had sex with somebody else?
Correct. Why? Like this is the level you can. But this is what the Matrix wants from you as a man.
Because
They want the woman in charge and the man below with no backbone. Because if the
no one forced him to marry a porn star. Like, if you don't want your wife sleeping with other men, don't marry a porn star. I mean, I would have to have assumed that there would have been some conversation before the are you going to keep doing porn after we're married, honey? Yes, I am. Okay. I mean, it's like, did you not expect her to keep, like, there are a lot of women that do porn that like doing porn. There are men that do porn that like doing porn as well. Did you expect her to quit? Did you ask her to quit? Did you just make the assumption that when you asked her to marry you, that she was just automatically gonna give up? I mean, like, why did you marry a fucking porn star? The bigger problem with this scenario is that jackass was stupid enough to marry a porn star and really expected that she was going to give up like everything in her life without apparently getting her to agree to that before they got married. It's like, did you just think that she was going to like turn her life over to you when you got married? Wait, so he paid the guy? Is that real? What the hell? Yeah, he's a poor put upon victim of the world that he paid a guy to fuck his wife. And I'm not judging, by the way. Like, I don't really care. What you like what you like. It is none of my fucking business. Like, but to complain about it?
A woman's in charge, they can emotionally affect her. They can scare her. You can scare a woman easier than you can scare a man. A man. A real man's hard to scare. A woman you can make afraid of the vaccine, right? Be afraid, COVID, be scared. If she's in charge of the household, I would argue in nearly any household where the female was dominant, everyone's vaccinated. I would argue that point hard.
Of course.
Maybe I'm wrong, but I would argue it. I don't have the statistics. It's just logic to me.
I'm just making shit up, but it makes sense to me. It
Talk
doesn't
about
make
women
sense
being
to you.
unhappy.
Yes,
What's
yes,
actually
Andrew,
interesting
it
about
does
the
make
female
sense to
mind,
me
once
because
again,
I'm a
they're gonna call me
fucking cuck.
misogynist, is that when you're an emotionally led person,
like, after this interview, if Tucker Carlson does not correct this in some way, like very, very soon, can we start calling Tucker Carlson Tucker Cuckson? Because honestly, like, Tucker Carlson is being such a fucking cuck in this interview, it's not even funny. Tucker Carlson is more of a cuck than the guy who married the porn star, and then a week after, the porn star is banging another guy.
you're more prone to chaos. It takes real stoicism to lead. So why are these women unhappy? Because no one's leading them. No fathers, no men of
Tucker
no
Carlson?
backbone, no man they respect.
Yeah, that could
So
work
they're
too,
relying
Sin.
on
Good
society,
suggestion.
which is promoting chaos, and their own mental state. Women will say all the time, "Oh, my period was coming up, so I was crazy." Like,
Well, that's
they'll say that
actually
themselves.
True. That's actually true.
So without any kind of hard rock of emotional security to give her a hug and say, "Don't worry, baby, calm down. It's
That's
okay."
not exactly
When
what
you have no
Andrew.
hard rock of emotional security and you leave her to her own devices, she's going to be to a degree chaotic. And you know who told me this? A woman said this to me.
Are you
A woman
serious?
said this to me. A woman said,
Do you understand that there are like hormones raging through your body? Like, it's not, it is a fucking, oh my God. Men should not be allowed to talk about this. They do not understand.
most women are closer to a mental breakdown than you possibly believe.
That's
Day
not
by
because
day.
of PMS.
Really? She goes, yeah, and that's what I love about my husband. He makes me feel happy and secure and safe. If I'm starting to have a problem, I know I go to him and he makes me feel safe. He's my rock. There's a woman said this to me a long time ago.
If men had to deal with the bullshit that women have to deal with on a monthly basis because of fucking periods, they would curl up into a little ball and die. Andrew Tate would not know what to do with himself.
So why are women miserable? Because where are they going to get their happiness from? Where are they going to get their emotional stability from? It's not their job. I don't believe it's a woman's job to be emotionally stable. It's a woman's job to do many other very important things that men can't do. More important, they're better than men at a lot of things, women are. But it's our job to be emotionally stable. Women are better than us at certain things. We're better at other things. And that's why as a team, we're so powerful. To sit and pretend we're all the same the whole way through, then why do we even need each other anymore?
Well, I don't think we do.
You're exactly it. And this is why we have birth rates declining, porn, women who are running around sharing one man with no intention of having children, marriage is gone. Like, where do we think this is going to end? And what's interesting about
it ends with the training thing, right?
Well, yeah, that's the ultimate.
No, I'm serious though. If there's no, scrambling the idea of the gender binary of sex differences, like that is kind of the end point, isn't it?
Well, the end point is, yeah, men are the same as women, so it doesn't even matter.
Right.
I can be a woman today, be a man tomorrow. None of it matters.
That is the end point. That is the end point that the woke left wants. But I'll bet you all the money in my bank account that Andrew Tate has no idea the context of that. He's just spouting a talking point that Tucker Carlson doesn't understand this either. They don't understand what the queer Marxist agenda is. None of these people fucking understand this stuff.
Anymore.
Or how it's actually going to manifest, which is not that women have jobs outside the home and they go to college and they're just trying to be men and that's how they're going to abolish women. That's not how it's going to work, Andrew. And anyone who's attended my Socialism Saturday streams on either queer Marxism, transgender Marxism, or abolish the family know exactly that.
I also think a large part of this transsexual movement, I think a large part of it
See,
a
'cause he
deliberate
doesn't know the
attack
difference
on
between
us and our
queer and
senses
trans.
because
He
they're
doesn't know the
trying
difference.
to convince us to ignore our eyes. I do believe
If you don't know the difference between queer and trans, then you have no fucking clue what you're talking about. Trans is an identity. Queer is a far left political ideology. You aren't necessarily queer if you're trans. You're not you don't have to be trans or gay to be queer. Andrew Tate doesn't understand this. Tucker Carlson doesn't understand this. Most of the political right doesn't understand this because they admire people like fucking Andrew Tate.
believe that is a bottom line. I think the bottom line of slavery are your own senses. Like, no matter what I'm told that it's cold outside, I feel warm. That's the bottom line. So once they can convince you that your senses are wrong, well, then you're completely open for the slave program. Once you can look at something with your eyes and ignore your eyes, you're a prime candidate. So I think a lot of this has also something to do with that. You are going to say that's a girl. That's what you are going to say because you have to. And if you say it long enough, you'll think it. And if you won't, your children will because we'll tell them. So eventually, you're going to say it. And then it becomes true. Then you ignore your eyes. Now you'll believe anything, right? Till the next thing comes along. Now you'll believe all the people on the jets telling you about climate change. It's all an attack on the senses.
This is America's most famous admiral.
You know, it's such an important issue for our youth and adults. As you said, some of these laws are actually extending into adulthood. You know, we often say that gender affirming care is healthcare, gender affirming care is mental health care, and gender affirming care is literally suicide prevention care. Would that be your view as well?
I 100% agree.
It's genuinely, I want to actually genuinely give my heartfelt condolences to any young person who falls for this crap because you're going to be so miserable for the rest of your life. If you chop off your genitals, take a whole bunch of chemicals as a teenager, you are going to be miserable for the rest of your life.
Yes.
You're never going to be the person you want to be. You're never going to be accepted as that person. You're never going to feel happy inside. If you fall for this, I genuinely feel sorry for you. That's the first thing I'm going to say. The second thing I'm going to say, I find it very interesting that the only surgery we call affirming is gender surgery. Imagine a girl woke up and said, I was born in the wrong body because my tits are small. I'm a big titted woman, but I was born in the wrong body. I need tit affirming care. I need to affirm my true body shape. Because otherwise I have a mental health problem. No, it's plastic. It looks good, perhaps, whatever. But we would never say she was born in the wrong body and we had to affirm her genuine body experience.
Her triple Ds.
Yeah. Her triple Ds had to be affirmed. It's garbage. You're not affirming anything. And also, I think it's kind of interesting. They say that trans people commit suicide at a higher rate. That's sad. Nobody should kill themselves. I would hate for anybody to kill themselves. They say that's because they're picked on for being trans. I don't know why anyone's ever had the argument that perhaps they have a mental instability before this trans stuff, and that's why they're more prone to suicide in the first place.
Seems like an obvious explanation.
Seems like an obvious explanation. I don't think it's normal for anybody to want to mutilate themselves. I think if someone were to come to me and say, I really want to cut my hand off, I would think they had a mental illness. Why? Don't like it. What do you mean you don't like it? I don't like my hand. I don't want it. I would think that's very concerning. So I really, truly feel sorry for any young people who fall for this. I don't blame them. I think it's a massive psyop. And I think if you fall for it, you're going to be miserable forever. And one more point I'll make on this whole thing I found very interesting. I'm a professional fighter, so I spent a lot of time in Thailand when I was fighting. Kickboxing is big over there. And I've always thought, no one's ever mentioned that Thailand has a bunch of ladyboys, right? But if you say to a ladyboy, are you a man or a woman? She goes, I'm a ladyboy. What's that? I'm a man, but I'm a ladyboy. They don't see themselves as women in the real sense of I am female. Right. They don't want to compete against women in sports. They don't want to pretend they can have kids. They don't talk about having periods. They're like, I'm a ladyboy.
Point. That's a fair
point. It's like kind of like an in-between. It's got its own thing.
India has the same.
Yeah, it's fine. Nobody over there is genuinely arguing that they are actually female. Only in America are we doing that. And that's what's the craziest thing of all. Even if you truly, truly believe you need to change gender and you truly believe it's the right path for you and you believe you're not being psyoped and you believe you're going to be happy and you believe you need to mutilate yourself, that's all fine. But then to come along with the hubris and arrogance to tell me that I have to pretend you're something you're not,
Yes.
biologically.
That's right.
That's absolutely not really arrogant. You can't tell me what I have to call you, right? I'm allowed to come to my own conclusions and opinions. And the whole point of being a human is that we've gone through life long enough to identify patterns. Imagine humans.
Wait, so we got a chat here from Cyril. Catching up, just a word on Adam 22. He and his wife are porn stars on OnlyFans who said they would never do scenes with other people. Then a week after their wedding, they decided she should and did. So what is the problem then? What is the problem? If they decided together that she should sleep with another man to do porn, and they both agreed, and then she did it, why is he then upset about it? I don't understand.
Didn't identify patterns. One person went and got ate by the lion. You watch it happen. Then you go for a turn. Like, no, you work out over time. Don't go near the lion, right? If I look at a person who's 6'4", muscularly built, right, with a big jaw and a beard, my brain and my life experience tells me that's quite often a man. That's
very often it is.
Very often. That's the conclusion I've come to. To come along and say, no, because I've decided to do X, Y, Z, you have to ignore all of the patterns you've identified throughout your entire life and everything you believe to be true. You have to throw away all the science and your entire worldview and everything about how you view the world. You have to eject that from your brain and call me what I want to be called.
He paid him $10,000?
And if I went through the world and said everyone had to call me King Andrew, they'd tell me, shut up. Why?
Then why is he
If
complaining?
they can get called whatever they want, I should be able to get called whatever I want. I want to be King Andrew, #1 savior of Earth, climate change activist. That's what I want to be. And if anybody calls me anything else, they're a bigot. That's what we're going to do. If we're going to go down that path, I'm going to make sure that my title is good. Lord of all lands, Lord of all beasts of the land and fishes in the sea.
This is like
the
a
most honorable
conservative
man
talking
who's
point.
ever lived.
This is like
The
like
fastest
conservatives
human
are like
alive.
swooning over him.
Who
Like,
cares?
yes, Andrew.
Doesn't
Yes.
matter that I can't run fast.
Yes, be
Doesn't
our
matter,
leader,
Tucker.
Andrew.
I'm the fastest human alive. You must affirm my belief. I'm the fastest man alive. Greatest man in show business. Sorry, Tucker. Best political commentator there's ever been. Let's just go down this path of insanity. Why not? Walk around with stickers on our head. Be great. Be fun. The scariest thing about all this stuff is that the world is still polarized to a degree because there's certain places in the world which are too close to baseline reality for survival, for any of this garbage to fly. You think you can go to Tajikistan where people are trying to eat and talk to them about gender and all this garbage? They'll be like, listen, you're a man. This needs doing. Shut up. Right? There's no time for any of that. So as the Western world is self-destructing in real time, there are places in the world where none of this crap is happening. So who's going to own the world in 100, 200 years? Like, it's still competitive to a degree. It's still bipolar. There's two sides to the world. I think that when men are men and women are women and we stop arguing about dumb shit, that society overall is more competitive. I don't know how America's going to maintain its influence over the entire planet when it's doing all this garbage. How long can this possibly last?
Not long.
Not long. It's like the fall of Rome. The fall of Rome, everything became decadent, endless sex and orgies. No one had enough faith in the state to join the army anymore.
You make your money producing porn.
And people talk about barbarians destroying Rome. Rome was destroyed from the inside. That's what happens. And we're witnessing it in real time. And we have all these problems on Earth, and then they want to spend millions and millions of dollars on an investigation to prove that I'm a human trafficker for TikTok. It's clown world. It's nothing even makes sense anymore.
This is a video from a recent Pride March in New York. I'm interested in your view of it.
So I have a few points on this. The first point is that it is an unfortunate reality, and I'm not going to be called a bigot. I'm going to talk about the reality that the homosexual community cannot reproduce in and of themselves. So for them to have a community into the future, they do need your children. That's how they think. For there to be
no, they don't.
A homosexual community in 100 years from now, they need straight people's kids.
Wrong.
Because only straight people have children.
Wrong.
So
this is such bullshit. Do conservatives actually believe this? Of course they believe it. Of course they do. Because it gives them an excuse to hate the gays.
they're telling the truth. That's the first thing. They mean what they say. The second thing is, I think a lot of this is an attention grab by them. I think they are slightly disappointed in how tolerant many people actually are. I have no problem with gay people. I don't care. I'm gay. Cool. I want to get married. Fine. I'm going to wave my dick in your kid's face. Wait a second.
Yeah.
They push it to a point where we have to react. And then when we react, they say we're bigoted. Children are innocent, and destruction of innocence is one of the most disgusting things on the face of the planet. It's terrible if a child is killed in a war. It's terrible if a child's mind is warped by any propaganda mechanism. They're innocent. What I don't understand is why, imagine heterosexual men walked around naked saying we're coming for the children.
Well, someone gets shot.
Absolutely. So why is it when
for
you
good reason?
Completely. So as soon as there's this sexual orientation, they're completely protected. And I think that the whole point of having children as a whole is to instill them with your worldview. I know if I have children, I want them to be like me. We just talked about my last name and how I want them to honor me into
That's a reference.
Post-death. Then I want them to be a representation of me, which means they should believe in my values and my creeds. Why is a group of people in New York walking around telling me what they're going to teach my kids and what my kids should believe? They're not your kids. They're my kids.
Right.
And that's what's so scary, because children are impressionable and children are raised by the state and the internet effectively, which is why they want me off the internet. But they'll let a lot of people stay on the internet that say a lot about a lot of things. I'll argue that if I was transgender, the American embassy would have told Romania they were.
Andrew Tate's like, the reason they want me, it's not just because I want men to go to the gym, Tucker. That's not the only reason they want me off the internet. It's because I want to save the children from the homosexuals. Can you believe that? They just want me off the internet because I want to save the children from the homosexuals.
Were bigoted and removed me pretty quickly. I would genuinely argue that point. They would say, no, what you're doing is abusive to the LGBT community. He must be removed from jail.
Of course, immediately.
Immediately. But because I'm straight and heterosexual, it doesn't matter. We're the class that suffers the biggest bigotry that
exactly
possibly exists in.
Exactly, Andrew. They want him off the internet so badly that this is like one of the most viewed interviews of all time on the internet. They want him off the internet so badly that this interview has 100 million views on Twitter. God damn, are they doing a shitty job of getting Andrew Tate off the internet? God damn, is the Matrix doing a really shitty job of silencing Andrew Tate?
In the Western world today, I would actually argue that point. But they're saying this to be deliberately provocative. They're deliberately trying to upset people. They want to upset you so that when you talk against it, they can call you names and call you a bigot. And also, they mean what they say. And it's truly scary. I'm obviously a Muslim. I'm Islamic. What most people don't understand about a lot of the Islamic world is that a lot of these things are outlawed, right? But people say, so gay people can't go there. If you go to Dubai, you will see gay people. You can, if a guy wants to be gay and do whatever he wants to do with a full-grown man in his own house, I don't care. And you can tell. You might have a waiter's gay, whatever, etc. The only reason it's outlawed is not to stop a full-grown man meeting a full-grown man and doing what he decides to do. It's outlawed to prevent it bleeding into society and affecting the culture where the children are affected. That's why it's outlawed. And I'm not saying it should be outlawed in America, but what I'm saying is, if you're not going to protect the innocence of children from any ideology, and if the ideology is deliberately targeting children because children are more impressionable and more capable of believing in things which simply aren't true, perhaps a man looking like a woman or vice versa, then that is a dangerous ideology that should be very closely examined.
Well, if you're not going to protect children, or if you're going to encourage women to fight your wars, why have a society in the first place?
Well, this is another
Isn't
thing.
the whole point of society to protect women and
You
children?
know what's really interesting? I argued this point once. They were talking about how the West is a patriarchy and it's so terrible to be a woman in the West. And I'm like, well, where's better to be a woman then? If it's not the West, please tell me. Pick another country besides America where you'd rather be a woman. It's garbage to begin with, but you're saying, America's a patriarchy and Americans are all misogynistic. And men are so bad and women have been oppressed since the beginning of time. It's always been a patriarchy. If that's true, why don't women fight our wars? Think about it. We can get the women of our country and the women of another country and let them go die in a ditch. And us men can just sit around being patriarchs. Why do we have to go die? Why do we have to go get our legs blown off? No, because we're a patriarchy. Women can go suffer. Or do the women get to stay at home and we go suffer? How is it a patriarchy, right? So that's garbage to begin with. But I think, genuinely, to go back to that point, any ideology which is waking up and saying, our worldview is so extreme, the only way we can truly ensure it exists into the future is to find the most susceptible people on the planet to program and attack their minds, children. I think that's a destructive ideology and should be very closely looked at. And it doesn't matter if it's LGBTQ or anything else. I think if you sit children down and pump propaganda into their brain, and that's the only way you can get what you want, then there's probably something wrong with your ideas because you're afraid to challenge them with a grown adult. You don't want a fair fight. You understand? They don't want a fair fight. They want to sit with a child who has no idea what he's talking about and tell him that men are women and women are men, and vice versa, and just completely confuse the poor child because they don't want a fair fight against a rational adult. And that's scary.
It doesn't seem a huge improvement over, say, ISIS to me.
Absolutely. That's how do you convince somebody to blow themselves up? Well, you find a young man, teenage boy, and you program his mind. Exactly. And it's exactly the same thing. They don't try and convince an older man to blow himself up because he's going to sit there and go, why don't you blow yourself up?
I hadn't thought of this.
And then there's an argument. You go find a young, susceptible person, right? And that's what's so scary about all of it. And it's also kind of funny that like this whole LGBTQ thing is also linked to the patriarchy, also linked to all this other garbage and all these other false narratives and false ideas. Who are attacking me saying I'm dangerous for women because I'm a misogynist. You're dangerous for women for pretending men are women. You're more dangerous for women than I am. I'm saying a man's a man's, a woman's a woman. You're saying that if I put a wig on, I can go punch women in the face in the boxing ring.
Well, Andrew, you're literally on video beating the shit out of women. And so I don't really think you have a leg to stand on, bro, to say that you're more like women are more safe with you than they are in people who believe that like people can be trans. Because you're literally on video beating the shit out of women, bro.
Who's dangerous for women?
You.
It's insanity. And again, they have no virtue at all. They just weaponize garbage and attack you with it. But I do think that children have to at least be the bottom line for society. That's the future. And if you have children at home, you're raising them. And if you struggle to feed them, the government doesn't care. They are yours and they're your problem and your responsibility. And you deal with all of the stress and all the worry of them being out late at night and all the responsibility of taking care of them. And you went through hell for them to exist. You don't owe their minds to anybody else. You don't owe it. So there has to be a point where you stand up and say, no, I raised this child.
It's my child.
That's my child. It's not yours. Absolutely.
What do you make of Julian Assange?
I think that it's crazy. It's the number one way to shut up the BBC, that's for sure. To mention him. Say, oh, you're a journalist. You care about journalism, do you? You care about a fair and independent story. Why is Assange in Belmarsh? Very interesting.
What do they say?
They don't answer. They try and change subject. They always do. I did it. I stole it from the Azerbaijani president. He started it.
I saw that.
Yeah, it's great.
Do you know him?
I don't know him, but I've seen enough of his interviews to like him.
Me too.
Yeah, I like him. And this is what I'm saying about the world. There's so many places in the world where they still live very firmly in the real world. All of this garbage is just the result of the very simple, easy lives that we have. Inside the movie The Matrix, which I recommend you watch, the agents say, we tried to create a utopia for the human mind so that your mind is in a utopian state and your body can just be used. But the human mind rejects utopia. We created the world in 1999 at the pinnacle of human civilization before machines took over because the human mind needs struggle and it needs problems. Otherwise, it rejects it.
Yes.
And I kind of feel like there's a whole bunch of people trying to just find problems and find struggle in their lives because they don't have enough motivation to do something that's genuinely difficult, like, help people. But they can't live in this state of complete vegetation.
That's
so
right.
Then they wake up and say, oh, I'm oppressed. My pronouns. How much energy must it take to go through life trying to correct every person you interact with to call you Z? Think of the calories burnt. I can't think of a bigger waste of time. Think of the calories burnt. Every Starbucks employee, it's actually Z. Correct. You are a moron and you are just wasting so much energy. You could put that towards something beneficial. You could volunteer. You could go to the gym. There's so much more you could do with instead of walking around and talking about Z. You sound like a dumbass. But they're just finding struggle because they don't have any actual important struggle in their lives. And that's why it only exists in the decadent West.
Do you think the coming famine will change that?
Absolutely. I would argue that when the famine comes, I think all these
We have a
feminists will look
famine
for
now?
a strong man of resource who is stoic, who has a good network, who's capable and important and respected. It's amazing how quickly feminism disappears. In fact, there's a podcast I did called Fresh and Fit. And I did this podcast in
Oh,
Miami. And I was
God.
arguing about gender roles with 7 girls. And during it, they were telling me that they can do anything a man can do, all the usual things. And they don't care. They don't need a man, all this garbage. And some crazy fan knocked on the door for me. And he had a gun. He knocked on the door. You should have seen the women, how quickly they became feminists when I had to go to that door. They all completely changed. Go, 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 go. Oh, the feminism's out the window. There's no feminists on the Titanic.
Is this on video?
There's no feminisms in a
Is
famine.
this on video?
There's
'Cause I
no
don't believe it
feminists at
happened.
war. Where's the
I don't believe it
feminists?
happened at all.
Go to war.
I want to see the
Right?
video.
I remember when Afghanistan, when we did that very well-planned, very thorough evacuation of Afghanistan.
I'll tell you this. Like, there is no, like, you're telling me that a crazy fan just showed up at the door at the podcast that he was on that has a metric ton of money. So I'm sure they're in some sort of building where people just aren't waltzing right in and knocking on doors with guns. Please. If it did happen, it was staged. Exactly. Exactly.
Afghanistan. And all the schools that we opened for women got shut down by the Taliban. And I was having this conversation with someone and I was saying, okay, well, you're an Afghan man, right? You've been hired by the Afghan Defense Force and America's now left and you have a meager wage and America's left and the Taliban are coming and you're standing outside of the school with your AK and they're coming with whatever they've got. And you're looking at the school going, do I really want girls to go to school that bad? Not really. Just put it down, you walk off. And this girl's like, yeah, but you know, it's really important. And I'm like, yeah, it is very important. I agree. Women should have education, the right to education. Completely agree. But you're also saying here that men should die for it, which is fine. I'm not saying that that shouldn't be the case, but I'm saying that you should give men the respect they deserve for dying for your education. Because it's not the women who are going to defend that female school, it's the men. So if you're going to shit on men all day long
Well,
and say we ain't worth
Malala
anything
might
until the war
have,
comes,
you know,
and then you want us to go die?
Malala, and like she's like, you know, I mean, progressive, like whatever, but she did get shot by the Taliban defending the right of girls to go to school when she was like a teenager. I don't know Malala's last name. I know it, but I can't pronounce it. So, but like, you guys know who I'm talking about, right? To say that women aren't going to get shot when a literal Nobel Peace Prize winner got shot when she was a teenager by the Taliban for defending the right of girls to go to school. Please.
That's interesting. When the famine comes, the closer
Tate wasn't there
reality
to save
gets
her.
towards baseline survival, the closer we become towards our gender roles, because it's the only way we can be competitive. If you took 10 men and 10 women and stranded them on a desert island, the men would be men and the women would be women, because if they didn't, they would die. That's the bottom line. And I think that if you look at history, since the dawn of time, men were masculine, and also men, by and large, were generally ruling the society, not in an oppressive way, but in a protective way. And I think that that means that makes the society most competitive. And my argument for that
Malala,
is that
I
if
don't
you
know how
name
to
any
say her last
society
name,
since the
but
dawn of human
that's exactly who I'm talking about. Beth, thank you for the super chat. So generous. I think this is an excellent point. Cultures that are not exposed to social media and the Western influence have zero instances with gender confusion. If it were nature, it would simply happen anywhere without outside influence. Yeah, I mean, I agree with that point wholeheartedly, Beth. And I'm not one to say, like, I think that trans people do exist. I do. I just think they're extremely, extremely small in number. And I do believe it has to do with the way the brain develops. So I'm not going to suggest that like trans people don't exist in other societies, but what you're talking about is not trans people. It's the queer like movement where people are convinced they're all these things and they convince themselves that they're these things and then they show up as these things. This is not happening in like Islamic countries. And so it's not to say they don't have gay people in Islamic countries, not to say that trans people don't exist in those countries. And I'm speaking for myself here. I think they do, but the whole confusion thing and the teenagers cutting off their body parts and things like that, that does not exist in other countries like it exists here. I know you're not saying that. I was making a point, but I do appreciate the super chat. Thank you so much. All right, guys, we are almost done. We have 10 minutes left. We're getting through this interview today. If you have not yet mounted that like button, now is a great time to do it. And as a reminder, I will be back at 9:30 tonight for Nothing Remotely Controversial with Joshua. But we are going to finish this up first because, we've come this far. We're going to get the last 10 minutes.
Time, men were protecting women, providing for women, and basically in charge of the society. And these are societies that never met. So it can't be an idea that spread. The Ming dynasty and the Aztecs, they're pretty far away. But that's how society was most effective. And when feminists argue with me and say, we need a society run by women, so well, that's never, ever happened. And if it has happened, they got destroyed so quickly, they never had a history. We can't even name one. So it's a brand new idea, which I'm not saying is a bad idea. I'm saying if it's a brand new idea, you can't tell me it's going to be better because it's never been tried, ever. So we're going to see. But what happens if it doesn't work? With the most powerful nation on earth, right? So we're feminizing men and women have more and more control and more power, which is fantastic. I'm saying this is untested. Who knows where any of this is leading? And our competitors, America's competitors, are still very firm in their gender roles. So it's certainly an interesting period of history you're about to enter. It's very interesting.
What's your view of tobacco?
I love tobacco. So my diet is particularly strange, I've been told. I live on caffeine and nicotine. So I eat once a day. I eat dinner only. 80% of my calories come from meat. I have 10 cups of coffee a day and 3 or 4 large cigars. So I like caffeine and nicotine.
I do too.
Yeah, it makes me feel good. Makes me feel like my blood's on fire a little bit. Caffeine and nicotine, I think, are fantastic.
But you're a health guy, obviously.
I'm a health guy, but smoking is fantastic for your testosterone level. And I think that's important in a man. I think that's also important in the resistance of slavery as a whole.
Is it really, you can feel it?
Oh, 100%. And I'm not saying that, smoking's healthy. I'm not saying that because I also train exceptionally hard every single day. And when I was professionally fighting, I didn't smoke. But I think in general, testosterone level is a fantastic way to measure your overall health as a man.
But nicotine has a positive correlation of testosterone.
Absolutely.
levels.
It's been proven. Yep. It's been proven repeatedly. So that's why I love nicotine so much. And then caffeine, I love to have that little bit of not jitter, but I like to feel energetic and I like to be hungry. My optimal state is hungry, but energetic. That's how I get the most done. I don't like eating. If I eat, I feel full. I feel lethargic. I like to,
Totally.
Yeah, I like to be hungry and 1% irritable from my 5th coffee and a bunch of nicotine inside of me. That's how I like to perform. So yeah, I think it's a good thing. And
it's interesting how focused the people in charge are on nicotine.
Yeah.
As fentanyl becomes really common.
Yeah.
100,000 people die a year from it.
Yeah.
Nobody notices, but they're still trying to shut down not just tobacco, but non-tobacco nicotine devices.
Yep.
Why?
That's a really good point. We could argue it's down to testosterone level. I don't know if you ever saw the study which linked people's testosterone level to their ability and capability to disagree with something. So they did a study which is pretty self-explanatory. The higher your testosterone level, the more likely you are to disagree with a point. And the reason for that is because, especially in older times, if you're going to disagree with something, you had to fight over it.
Yeah.
If you're going to say no to somebody or some tribe or some person, there's a high chance that you're going to have to fight that person. You have to defend your idea. If you don't have the propensity or the capability to defend your idea, then why would you go against the ideas of the people who are stronger than you? So reducing testosterone levels make men more compliant and more complacent because we're less likely to say no because we can't defend what we think. Why would we say you're wrong, but we can't do anything about it? We might as well say, well, then you're right. Might makes right.
Right.
So reducing testosterone levels in men is something which I believe they're trying very hard to do. And if you read the studies, they're succeeding. Testosterone levels have gone off the edge, off the cliff. And perhaps that's why they attack smoking so heavily. I understand that smoking a lot of cigarettes can be very bad for you, but I think everything in moderation. And I think that overall, I would rather smoke a few cigars today and maintain my testosterone level, which it's good for, than not. I think the benefits outweigh the negatives.
Couldn't agree more. And my final question is about digital currency.
Yep.
Do you think it's inevitable, and what would its effects be?
CBDCs are inevitable, and they're scary. They're super scary because it's the final absolute realm of control. I mean, they're already removing cash from society. I think they say that just because they want to be able to trace things easier, and that's certainly part of it. But I also have another theory on it. I think if you have a $50 bill and I give it to the barber for my haircut, and then he goes and buys groceries with it from the grocer, and the grocer goes and gets his car washed, the $50 goes from place to place. And after 20 or 30 transactions, the $50 bill belongs to somebody and it's worth $50. Whereas if I pay by card, 1.5% goes to the bank. And then if he takes the money I've given him and pays for the groceries, 1.5% goes to the bank. And after the groceries have been paid for, when he goes to get his car washed, 1.5% goes to the bank. So after 20 or 30 transactions, the $50 is gone. The bank has it all. I think that's why they're so desperate to get rid of cash. It's interesting. CBDCs are the next level because once the money is completely digital, then they control everything you do with it. They control where it goes, but they can also control how and when it can be spent. Imagine some terrible future dystopian society where your money arrives and they say it can only be spent on food, or it can only be spent on vegetables because you've had too much meat this week, or you can't buy transport to a particular area because there's resistance to government oppression in that area. So your money won't work for trains right now because nobody can go down there because we don't want everyone in a large group. We want everyone at home in their pods. And they can track everywhere it goes, and they can also track how it's spent, and they can control how it's spent. They can put a time limit on it. You have an hour to spend this money. Scary. Like, think of all the ways they can inflict control over it. And I think this is actually one of the reasons why also I'm disliked. The BBC said this to me when they interviewed me. They said, Lucy, the very intelligent BBC reporter, said, word for word, you have a Bugatti and a cigar, and that means it comes with a side order of misogyny. I said, how does having a Bugatti and a cigar?
I am a poor victim of the world, and they just want to oppress me because I want men to be men.
It's like a sauce. And she repeated it because she couldn't. Yeah, you have a Bugatti and a cigar, and it comes with a side order of misogyny. So I was like, but
they're not sending their best.
Yeah, I don't think they have any best, to be honest. But the point they're making, what she doesn't realize she's making, because she's not smart enough, but what she wanted to say, but she couldn't say in a way which sounded negative, is financial freedom is required to a degree to resist. The reason I'm also disliked is because I'm financially successful.
They hate me because of my money.
They wouldn't care what I say.
And now Tucker Carlson needs to, at the very end of the interview, Tucker, we need you to come through for us. You've got 3 minutes left, buddy. Andrew, how do you make your money, Andrew? You're so financially successful, Andrew, and I know that you just want men to be financially successful. I know that you want to lift up all men and have them be men and help them be providers for their families so they can have the pretty wife and the fast car and the big house, Andrew. So can you tell us, Andrew, how exactly do you make your money? 3 minutes left, guys. Do you think Tucker's going to come through for us?
Inspire young men, all of my fans, to become wealthy. And you'd think that'd be fantastic for the society, right? He has millions of young men. He's teaching them to work hard. He's teaching them different ways money can be made. He's teaching them to be fantastic salesmen. He's helping the society. No, because if you have a whole bunch of money, then you can sit and say, no, I don't need your wage. That's bullshit. There was a video very recently of a guy in England taking down all the English flags and putting up pride flags. And a guy screams to him and goes, bro, you're taking down the wrong flag. And he replied, I know, mate. And the point is, what can I do? I'm a flag guy. If I say no, someone else will do it. Kids got to eat. So by keeping your money enslaved, they can keep you enslaved. You got to eat. They don't want men to be financially free. If you're financially free, if you have enough money in the bank, you can one day go, you know what? I don't want your money. Even me now to this day, I've done enough and I'm successful enough that it's very hard for them to buy me.
How do you make your money?
They come along. Well,
Andrew?
I would never sell my soul anyway because it's not who I am as a person. But if I was destitute, they could come along and say, Andrew, you have all this influence. We're going to change your message. You're going to say this. We'll give you 10 million. Okay. You can't buy me. Can't buy Trump. He's rich already. He's rich. He's rich and he's 80, 70 something. You think he needs more money? He doesn't care about money. They don't like that. So being financially free in and of itself is now an act against the government, because this whole idea that they want everyone to be rich and it's fantastic for the society, I'd actually argue against that. They don't want that. They want everyone destitute, because when you're destitute, you need the government to feed you. And it's very hard to fight against the government who's feeding you. It's very hard to resist the people who give out the bread. Yeah. I think that's called something. It begins with C. What's it called? Interesting. I also heard another interesting theory from a very intelligent person one day, and it was that every government on earth, all of them, in all of their different forms, China, which says it's communist and is capitalist, and all the different in-betweens to the capitalist West, every government on earth is slowly encroaching on trying to become as controlling as powerful as possible. They all want to be as controlling as possible over their citizens. Communism is the end result of the most control a government can have, effectively, or some version of communism. But every single government on earth is slowly trying to get there bit by bit. And the only thing that resists them getting there is the populace and how much the populace will accept. And depending on how malleable the populace is, depends on how quickly they get there. But every government wakes up. It's kind of like AI. Have you ever heard the robot's going to destroy us all because they wake up and go, we don't need the humans anymore? Their end goal is just survival. If a government is the same as an entity, its end goal is more and more control. And that's all they're trying to do every single day with every law they pass, with the climate change law. They don't care about the environment. They want more control. Of course. And the more and more control they get, the final end result, if you give them what they want, is absolute slavery for everybody. So you have to be very careful because that is their ideal government. The ideal government is where everyone complies, everyone obeys, everyone's controlled, we know everything about everybody, and it's slavery. That's the only way to get that state. So even making money, making enough money to have an opinion is an act of rebellion. It's crazy.
Andrew Tate.
Thank you very much, my friend.
Amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wow. Wow. Well, certainly the first part of the interview was the most eventful. And again, I really do want to encourage everyone, if you missed part one of this little endeavor to watch this entire interview yesterday, please go back and watch the first part of the interview. And I made a clip for you. I made it all nice and concise so you can see the most important part. The most important part of that entire interview was when Andrew Tate lied about, well, you know, all the things that he's accused of. I just do TikTok, Tucker, and they just accuse me of doing TikTok, and I just don't know why they accuse me of doing TikTok. I just don't know why they would ever accuse me of doing human trafficking. And then Tucker was like, Andrew, you are a poor put upon victim of the world. You are just so oppressed, and the Matrix just hates you because you just want men to go to the gym. And then we played the video that Liz Wheeler posted on Twitter that went viral that very clearly shows Andrew Tate in his own words saying exactly how he makes his money, which is by getting women to fuck him and then fall in love with him and then emotionally manipulating them to do OnlyFans for him, in which he takes all of their money and then pays them a $15 an hour salary. And oh, by the way, there's also video in that of him beating the shit out of women who aren't doing what he wants them to do. But Andrew Tate is the only hope we have. He is the only hope that men have. And if men are ever going to find a good woman, what they need to do first is pay Andrew Tate money so that Andrew Tate can teach them everything that he knows about getting the very best OnlyFans models that he can get, so that they can get women, because Andrew Tate is their only hope, and he is the only one on the internet who is telling men to be men and go to the gym, and that's all it's about. And no, don't watch porn, except the OnlyFans porn that I produce with the dozens of women that I've convinced to work for me so I can take all their money. I don't even know what to say if Tucker Carlson doesn't do some sort of mea culpa for this. I'm really, really, really disappointed in Tucker Carlson. And it's kind of like, for me, and I don't know if anyone else is feeling this, it's kind of like the disappointment where, like, you know, I expect people in the media to lie. I expect conservative influencers to lie. I expect leftist influencers to lie as well, but I hold conservative influencers to a little bit of a higher standard than I hold leftist influencers, because they should damn well fucking know better. And they pretend to hold themselves to a higher standard when they do not. I expect people in the media to lie, so it doesn't even faze me when it happens anymore. I expect these political grifting organizations like fucking PragerU and Moms for Liberty. I'm not talking about the local Moms for Liberty chapter. I'm talking about Moms for Liberty National. I expect Gays Against Groomers to lie because Jamie Mitchell, who is the CEO of Gays Against Groomers, is a narcissistic psychopath as well. I mean, it's just like there are so many fucking narcissists on the conservative right, and I'm starting to feel like I'm like a conspiracy theorist where I'm like, narcissist, 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 and it's so easy for me to see. By the way, side note, did you guys know that Jamie Mitchell for Gays Against Groomers stole the journalism of like some guy on TikTok and then said Gays Against Groomers did this undercover journalism report when in fact she stole the work of some guy on TikTok? That's going around Twitter right now. It's just a separate story. Anyway, my point is this. I expect these politically motivated organizations that rely on conservative money to lie. I expect them to lie. I expect them to obfuscate the truth. I am not surprised when it happens. I'm not surprised when any commentator lies. I'm not surprised when any pundit lies. Like, my default expectation for almost everyone in any sort of realm of political anything is that they will lie. But Tucker Carlson was different. Tucker Carlson, I actually thought, especially when he left Fox News, I was like, man, Tucker's had the leash taken off. You know, there's been things that Tucker Carlson has wanted to say for years that he couldn't ever say because he was on Fox News. I was like, this is going to be great. Tucker's going to get his legs under him. He's going to do this little Twitter show. He's going to say stuff that needs to be said. He could even become like a truth teller of sorts. This is one of those times when like I'm not disappointed when normal people in the media lie because it's the expectation. If they actually told the truth, that would like exceed my expectation of them. I fucking expected Tucker Carlson to tell the truth. And he didn't. And I don't know if he didn't because he wasn't prepped for it or because he wanted to be willfully ignorant, but I am so beyond disappointed in Tucker Carlson, who has no reason to lie because he is no longer chained to any of these organizations that make money on the virtue of those lies. There was no reason for him to do this. There was no benefit for him to do this. Why is he upholding a narrative? Why is he shilling this story about Andrew Tate being a poor victim of the world that is obviously and provably wrong based on things Andrew Tate has said on video that are publicly available on the fucking internet? Did Tucker Carlson not know? Was Tucker Carlson not prepped? Did Tucker Carlson not care? I want answers to all these questions. And if he doesn't do some sort of like mea culpa or like, surprise, we were trying to catch Andrew Tate in a trap. Here's what the real deal is. Here's all the footage of him on the internet. Here's what the truth really is. He's not a good guy. We shouldn't be supporting him. We shouldn't be seeing him as a poor, misunderstood victim of the fucking Matrix. I feel like when I left the left in, like, I really kind of like, I mentally left the left in 2019. I officially, like, publicly left the left in, like, 2020. And it was a really disillusioning time for me. And I went with the conservative. I went with, like, the MAGA stuff and the conservatives because I thought they were the only option I had. And I gave so many people the benefit of the doubt. God damn it. I was so fucking naive in 2020. I was so naive. I gave everyone the benefit of the doubt. There are so many people that I met and considered myself friends with in 2020 that I look at today as completely different people because I see right through them now and I didn't see through them before because I didn't have enough experience in this world and I didn't have enough context. And I really do try to give people the benefit of the doubt. I really do. Like, if you haven't done anything to me, I'm going to assume that you're coming from a place of, like, you know, of intellectual honesty until I am shown otherwise. I really feel like Tucker Carlson, though, was like the last bastion of something that I believed could have been actually real. And that's just that the balloon is pretty much every single person on the right that I had any sort of faith in has just like completely shit the bed or sold out. Maybe not all of them, maybe not 100%, but I'm talking like at least 75% of the people that I really believed in have just completely sold out. And that's really the biggest black pill of all, I think. It's like they claim to care, they claim to believe in this stuff, and then as soon as the check gets big enough, man, they will hightail it in the other direction and pretend that they just don't know what you're talking about. Why on earth wouldn't I give Andrew Tate the benefit of the doubt? Oh, okay, Tucker. All right. Yeah, sure. Anyway. Tomorrow, what we're going to do on stream, guys, and actually it might even be, I might do it tonight. I'm not going to make any fucking promises. Maybe I'll do it tonight. Maybe I'll do it tomorrow. But what I do want to watch is I want to visit our favorite narcissist on the YouTubes, who is HG Tutor, the ultra narcissist. And I want to listen to some of his analysis on Andrew Tate because he's done a bunch of videos on Andrew Tate, and I never listened to them before because I was kind of like, duh, Andrew Tate's a narcissist. Like you'd be a blind man and fucking see that. So I didn't really think it was a good use of time. So I want to listen to some of his analysis now that we've watched this video. And I really, 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 really hope that he does an analysis on this video because I think it would be fascinating. I think he would have a lot to say about it. No one is allowed to sneak Autumn into the Zoom. Autumn, you either pony up the $5 or you like, if you're buying weed at Autumn, you can pony up the $5, all right? Jesus Christ. No one's sneaking Autumn into nothing. All right, guys. As a reminder, I'm going to go take a little bit of a break, but I will be back at 9:30 in about an hour and a half of time. And we will be doing Nothing Remotely Controversial with Joshua. And this interview definitely does raise a lot of questions that we can ask Joshua, doesn't it? So, guys, I'm going to take a little bit of a break. If you haven't mounted that like button yet, now is the last chance to mount it before we exit today. Please also do make sure you are subscribed to the channel if you are not already. And I will see you guys in about an hour and a half. Take care, and we'll see you soon. Bye.